Why is receiving love so hard? I give it so easily, without thinking, without hesitation, but somehow it never seems to find its way back to me. I watch people love each other so effortlessly, laughing, holding hands, belonging to one another like it's the most natural thing in the world, and I can't help but wonder what that feels like. To be chosen, to be wanted, to be loved the way I love. Because somehow I'm always the giver, the one who listens, the one who shows up, the one who makes sure everyone else feels cared for. I pour into people like it's my purpose, but when it's my turn, everyone suddenly forgets how to pour back. And I tell myself it's fine. I tell myself I don't need much. I convince myself that being the strong one or the understanding one is enough. But deep down there's this quiet ache, this tiny voice that whispers, when is it going to be my turn? When will someone love me the way I love them? When will someone choose me without hesitation? I'm not asking for grand gestures. I'm not asking for perfection. I just want to feel like I matter to someone the same way I make them matter to me. Because giving love is easy. Receiving it, that's the part that feels almost impossible. But still, I wait. I hope, I believe that one day someone will see me, really see me, and finally choose me the way I've always chosen everyone else. No one really talks about how long some men are willing to wait for the one person they truly want. Not days, not weeks, months, sometimes years. And it usually starts with something small, something that doesn't sound final. She says, maybe one day. I'm just not ready right now. I need time. And he hears that like it's a promise, like it means not now doesn't mean never. So he holds on to those words, replays them, builds hope around them, and he waits. He doesn't make it obvious, he doesn't beg, he doesn't pressure. He waits quietly, patiently, convincing everyone, including himself, that he's fine. Because when a man sees you in his future, when he's already chosen you in his heart, waiting feels easier than letting go. He tells himself she's healing, she's figuring things out. She'll come back when she's ready. And sometimes it's hard to tell if that kind of waiting is beautiful or self-destructive, because love like that is rare. A man who's willing to pause his own needs, put his feelings on hold, stay loyal to the idea of you without knowing if you'll ever choose him back. That's not weakness, that's commitment. But commitment without clarity can slowly break someone. So if you have a man like that, someone willing to wait while you sort through your life, you can't treat that lightly. Take the time you need, heal what you need to heal, do what you need to do, but don't let him wait if you already know you're not coming back. Because the cruelest thing is letting someone hold on to hope when all that's waiting for them is disappointment. A lot of men won't walk away. They'll keep telling themselves one more month, one more sign, one more chance. Not because they're desperate, but because they care. So if you can love him again, do it fully. And if you can't, tell him, don't make him wait just to slowly lose himself loving someone who was never going to return. What people don't see is what waiting does to him. Not on the outside. He looks fine. He still shows up. Still laughs at the right moment, still pretends he hasn't built his days around the possibility of you coming back. But inside, everything is on pause. He doesn't let himself move on, doesn't let himself get close to anyone else, doesn't let himself fully hope or fully let go, because doing either would feel like betraying the future he pictured with you. So he lives in the middle, not chosen, not free, just waiting. He rereads old messages looking for reassurance that maybe he didn't imagine the connection. He remembers how you looked at him, how you laughed with him, how real it felt, and that's what keeps him there. Not obsession, not desperation, memory. He tells himself real love requires patience, that if it's meant to be, it'll come back around. But patience without direction starts turning into quiet pain, because every time you say, I don't know yet, he hears, not now, but maybe. Maybe is enough to keep him holding on. What breaks him isn't waiting itself. It's not knowing whether the waiting means something to you too. He would wait longer if he knew it mattered. He would walk away if he knew it didn't. But uncertainty keeps him stuck, and the longer he stays there, the more of himself he puts on hold. His needs, his timing, his chance to be loved fully, all for someone who may never come back. And that's the part no one talks about. Waiting doesn't just cost time. It costs pieces of him he doesn't realize he's giving away. At some point, the waiting starts asking questions back, not out loud, not in a way he can easily answer, just quiet thoughts that show up late at night when there's nothing left to distract him. Am I being patient, or am I just afraid to let go? Because there's a difference. Patience comes with trust, with direction, with some kind of reassurance that the waiting has meaning, but what he has is uncertainty. He's not waiting because he's calm. He's waiting because walking away would mean admitting that the future he imagined might never happen. And that's harder than staying still, so he tells himself stories. That love is supposed to hurt a little, that timing matters more than readiness, that if he just proves he's loyal enough, consistent enough, understanding enough, it'll all make sense one day. But love isn't supposed to feel like erasing yourself. It isn't supposed to require putting your life on hold indefinitely. It isn't supposed to make you question whether your needs matter at all. Still, he stays. His hope is quiet, but it's persistent. He whispers things like, she'll come back. She just needs time. It'll be worth it. And as long as that voice exists, letting go feels like failure, like giving up on something real. What scares him most isn't the idea of her choosing someone else. It's the idea that she might never choose anyone, and he still waited anyway. That he might look back one day and realize he sacrificed his own chance to be loved fully for someone who was never coming back. And that realization doesn't make him angry. It makes him tired, because waiting stopped feeling romantic a long time ago. Now it just feels heavy. And deep down, he's starting to understand something he's been avoiding. Love shouldn't feel like standing still while life passes you by. There comes a moment when waiting stops feeling like love and starts feeling like self-abandonment. It doesn't happen all at once. There's no dramatic breaking point. It's quieter than that. It's the realization that his life has been moving around someone who isn't moving toward him, that he's been planning a future with someone who won't even promise a present. He notices it in small ways, how he avoids making plans because what if she comes back? How he turns down opportunities because he doesn't want to feel unavailable when she finally decides. How he measures his growth, his happiness, his healing against whether or not it would still fit her. And that's when it hits him. Waiting has slowly become a way of disappearing, not because he doesn't love her, but because loving her has started costing him himself. He tells himself love requires sacrifice, but sacrifice isn't supposed to be one-sided. Real love doesn't ask you to pause your entire life without offering anything solid in return. And for the first time, he lets himself ask a dangerous question. If she never comes back, would this still have been worth it? That question hurts because the answer isn't immediate, because a part of him still wants to believe that patience will be rewarded, but another part, the quieter, tired part, knows something has to change. He starts realizing that choosing himself doesn't mean he loved her less. It means he finally loved himself enough to stop waiting in uncertainty. Letting go doesn't erase what they had. It doesn't make the feelings fake. It doesn't turn the waiting into a mistake. It just means he's done confusing hope with a promise, because love shouldn't require you to disappear quietly just to prove you're loyal. And walking away doesn't mean he stopped caring. Sometimes it means he cared enough to stop hurting himself in silence. Letting go hurts differently than waiting ever did. Waiting was familiar, painful but predictable. It gave him something to hold on to, even if that something was uncertainty. Letting go feels like free fall, because when he finally stops waiting, there's no future version of them to lean on anymore. No, maybe one day. No imagined moment where she finally says she's ready. Just silence, and that silence is loud at first. He feels it in the empty spaces where hope used to sit, in the routines he built around the idea of her coming back. For a while, he doesn't know who he is without the waiting, because waiting gave his love direction. It gave his patience purpose. It made the pain feel meaningful. Now he has to sit with something harder, grief, not just for her, but for the version of himself who believed love always meant endurance. He realizes how long he ignored his own needs, how often he told himself later, instead of asking for what he deserved now. And that realization stings, because he wasn't weak, he was loyal. He just stayed loyal to someone who couldn't meet him where he stood. Healing doesn't come all at once. Some days he still wonders if he gave up too soon, if one more month would have changed everything. But then he remembers how heavy the waiting felt, how small his world had become, how much of himself he put on hold, and slowly something shifts. He starts choosing himself in quiet ways. He makes plans without hesitation. He opens himself to new moments without checking if they'd interfere with the future that no longer exists. And for the first time in a long time, his life starts moving forward again. Letting go didn't mean he stopped loving her. It meant he stopped abandoning himself. And that's when healing actually began. After the waiting ends, there's a strange emptiness that follows, not because he lost her, but because he lost the version of himself that believed love had to hurt to be real. For a long time, his worth was tied to patience, to loyalty, to how much he was willing to endure without being chosen back. And when that chapter closed, he didn't immediately feel strong. He felt unsure, because when you spend so long putting someone else first, you forget what it feels like to be a priority in your own life. He starts noticing it in small moments, how uncomfortable it feels to ask for what he needs, how he second guesses himself when someone shows interest too easily, because ease feels unfamiliar now. He was used to earning affection, proving commitment, waiting quietly without complaint, so when someone shows up without confusion or hesitation, it almost feels wrong. Like love should require more suffering than this. That's when he realizes how deeply the waiting shaped him. He didn't just pause his life, he learned to minimize himself. He learned that his needs could wait, that his feelings were negotiable, that love meant staying even when nothing was being offered in return. Unlearning that takes time. He has to remind himself that love isn't supposed to feel uncertain, that commitment doesn't mean self-erasure, that being chosen shouldn't feel like a reward for endurance. Slowly he starts rewriting the rules. He lets himself want clarity. He lets himself walk away when something feels one-sided. He stops confusing consistency with compatibility, and piece by piece his sense of worth comes back. Not because someone else validates it, but because he no longer abandons himself to keep someone else comfortable. He waited because he meant it, but now he understands something important. The right person won't need him to suffer quietly to prove his love. They'll meet him where he stands. Waiting leaves marks, not obvious ones. Nothing you can point to and explain easily. But after someone has waited that long, they don't love the same way again. He becomes more careful, not closed off and just aware, because once you've given that much patience to the wrong person, you learn how expensive your loyalty really is. He no longer rushes into hope, no longer builds futures in his head without evidence in the present, not because he's bitter, but because he knows what it costs to believe too soon. He listens differently now. When someone says, "I'm not ready," he hears it clearly. When someone says, "I don't know what I want," he doesn't translate it into possibility. He takes words as they are, not as promises he can grow hope around. That doesn't make him cold, it makes him intentional. He still loves deeply, still commits fully, but only where clarity exists, because waiting taught him that love shouldn't feel like uncertainty stretched over time. He no longer tries to prove his worth through endurance. He doesn't stay where effort isn't mutual. He doesn't confuse potential with reality. And that makes him harder to lose, not because he withholds love, but because he now knows when to walk away. He understands that choosing someone means choosing himself too. That real connection doesn't ask him to pause his life indefinitely. It doesn't ask him to suffer quietly just to stay loyal. Waiting didn't break him, it refined him. It taught him what love isn't, though he could finally recognize what it is. And when he loves again, it won't be out of fear of losing. It will be out of certainty. The next time he loves someone, it won't start with waiting. It'll start with clarity, because once you've waited that long for someone who couldn't meet you halfway, you stop confusing effort with connection. He won't wonder where he stands anymore. He won't analyze pauses, he won't read into silence or turn uncertainty into hope. not because he's less romantic, but because he's learned what love is supposed to feel like. The next person he loves won't have to guess how he feels. They won't have to question his loyalty. They won't have to wonder if he's serious, because when he chooses fully, but this time he'll only stay where he's chosen back. He won't pause his life waiting for someone to decide. He won't put his heart on hold for potential. He understands now that real love doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't stretch uncertainty across months and years. It doesn't ask you to sacrifice peace just to stay connected. The next person will feel the difference. Not because he loves harder, but because he loves cleaner, with boundaries, with honesty, with the expectation of mutual effort. And that's the quiet shift no one sees. Waiting didn't make him bitter, it made him precise. It taught him that commitment means nothing without intention behind it. So when he gives his time again, his patience again, his heart again, it won't be because he's afraid to lose. It'll be because both of them are choosing each other in the present. Not someday, not maybe, now. The people who wait the longest are often the hardest to replace, not because they demand attention, not because they make noise, but because they loved with patience most people don't have anymore. When he was waiting, his presence felt easy to overlook. He was steady, consistent, always there, and consistency can become invisible to people who aren't ready to value it. So they assume he'll always be there, that his patience has no limit, that his loyalty is permanent. But what they don't realize is that waiting teaches restraint. It teaches someone exactly how much they're willing to give before they stop. So when he finally walks away, it's quiet, no drama, no announcement, no attempt to make anyone regret it. He just goes, and that's when the absence is felt, because he wasn't loud, he was grounding. He was the one who remembered, the one who stayed calm, the one who made things feel safe without asking for anything in return. And when that's gone, it leaves a space it's hard to fill, not with excitement, not with attention, but with depth. That's when people realize they didn't lose someone dramatic, they lost someone rare, someone who would have waited longer than anyone else, but chose not to abandon himself anymore. And that's the part that hurts the most. Not that he left, but that he learned how to leave. Because once someone like that is gone, they don't come back confused. They don't come back waiting. They move forward with intention. And by the time anyone realizes what they lost, he's already chosen himself. Waiting was never the problem. The problem was waiting without being chosen back. For a long time, he believed love was proven by how much you were willing to endure, how long you could stay, how patient you could be, how quietly you could hurt without asking for reassurance, and he did that. He waited through uncertainty, through mixed signals, through not right now that never turned into I'm ready, not because he didn't value himself, but because he valued love deeply, but eventually he learned the difference between commitment and self-sacrifice. Real love doesn't keep you suspended. It doesn't ask you to pause your life while someone decides if you're worth choosing. Real love meets you where you are, and the moment he understood that, waiting lost its meaning, because waiting only makes sense when both people are moving toward each other, even slowly, not when one person is standing still hoping to be picked someday. Walking away wasn't easy. It didn't feel empowering at first. It felt like grief. Grief for the future he imagined. Grief for the version of himself who believed patience would be rewarded no matter the cost. But over time, that grief turned into clarity. He realized something simple but life-changing. Love should feel mutual, certain, chosen in the present, not promised someday. So now, when he looks back on the waiting, he doesn't see weakness. He sees proof that he can love deeply. But he also sees the moment he learned to stop giving that depth to people who couldn't return it. He waited because he meant it, but he walked away because he finally understood that the right person won't need him to wait at all. They'll choose him clearly, willingly, and without hesitation, and that's not something you ever have to earn by putting your life on hold. She chose him over me, and the crazy part is, it didn't happen in one moment. It happened slowly. At first it was small things, Her replies got shorter. Her attention started drifting. The way she used to look at me started changing. Not dramatically, just enough that something felt off. But when you love someone, you don't immediately assume the worst. You assume they're stressed, busy, tired. You give them the benefit of the doubt. So I stayed patient. I stayed consistent. I kept showing up the same way I always did. Because when I commit to someone, I don't suddenly change just because things get complicated. But what I didn't realize at the time was this. While I was trying to hold the relationship together, someone else was slowly stepping into it, not all at once. Just little by little, more conversations, more attention, more curiosity. And attention is powerful because attention turns into interest. Interest turns into emotional space, and emotional space turns into attachment. By the time I realized what was happening, it was already too late, because she didn't just choose him in a moment. She chose him through 100 small decisions. Every time she answered his message faster than mine. Every time she gave him the version of her that used to be mine. Every time she let his presence grow while mine slowly shrank. And the hardest part, I wasn't competing in a fair race, because I didn't even know there was a race. I thought we were building something together, but she was quietly deciding between two directions, and eventually, she chose his, not because I didn't care, not because I didn't try, but because somewhere along the way my presence became familiar, and his attention felt new, and novelty is powerful when someone isn't fully anchored anymore. So one day it became official, not dramatic, not explosive, just final. She chose him. And suddenly I went from being the person she talked to every day to someone watching from a distance, and that's a strange feeling. To realize that someone who once chose you completely can eventually choose someone else instead. The part people don't talk about when someone chooses someone else is the confusion. Not just the pain, the confusion, because your mind starts replaying everything, every conversation, every memory, every moment that felt real, and you start asking questions that don't have clear answers. Was she already talking to him while she was telling me she loved me? Did she start losing feelings months before I noticed? Was I fighting for something that had already quietly ended? Because when someone chooses another person, it doesn't just break your heart, it rewrites your memories. You start looking back at moments that once felt normal and wondering if they meant something else. That night she seemed distant. That time she smiled at her phone. That random argument that came out of nowhere. At the time, none of it seemed like a big deal. But after she chose him, everything starts connecting in ways you wish it didn't. And suddenly it feels like you were the last person to realize the relationship was already changing. That's the hardest part. Feeling like you were still building something while the other person was slowly detaching from it. Because while I was trying to fix things, she was deciding between two futures, one with me and one without me. And eventually she picked the one that didn't include me. And I'm not gonna lie, that hits your ego. It makes you question your value. You start comparing yourself to someone you've never even met. What does he have that I don't? Is he more exciting, more confident, more interesting? Did she get bored of me? Did I become too predictable? Your mind searches for reasons because your heart needs an explanation. But sometimes the truth is uncomfortable. Sometimes people don't leave because you weren't enough. Sometimes they leave because someone new made them feel something different. And different can be powerful when someone isn't fully grounded in what they already have, because new attention feels exciting, new conversations feel fresh, new people don't carry the history of arguments or mistakes, and that freshness can create the illusion of something better, but illusions don't show the full picture, they only show the beginning. Still, knowing that doesn't always make it easier, because when someone chooses someone else over you, it feels like a verdict, like a decision about your worth. But the reality is this: it wasn't a competition about who was better, it was a decision about who she felt more drawn to at that moment. And attraction, timing, and emotion are messy things, they don't always follow logic. So yeah, she chose him, And for a while that felt like proof that I lost. But over time I started realizing something important. Just because someone chooses a different path doesn't mean you weren't valuable. Sometimes it just means they weren't meant to stay on yours. The hardest part about her choosing him wasn't just losing her. It was realizing I couldn't compete with something I never saw coming because I was focused on us. I wasn't looking around for other options. I wasn't measuring her against someone new. I wasn't wondering if someone else could replace her. I was invested fully. So when I found out she chose him, it felt like the ground shifted under something I thought was stable. And stability is something you don't question until it disappears. When things feel secure, you stop worrying about losing them. You assume the foundation is strong, but sometimes what feels strong to you is already cracking for someone else. And the scary part is you don't always see those cracks when they start forming, because they don't begin as huge problems. They begin quietly. Less excitement in conversations, less curiosity about your day, less emotional presence, tiny changes that seem harmless at first, but those small shifts slowly create emotional distance. And distance creates space, and space is where someone new can enter. I didn't realize how much space had formed between us until someone else filled it, and by the time I noticed, the emotional balance had already shifted, because attention changes people. When someone new shows interest, it creates a different kind of energy. New validation, new curiosity, new excitement. And if someone isn't fully anchored in what they already have, that new energy can start pulling them away. That's the part nobody warns you about. Sometimes relationships don't end because something terrible happened. Sometimes they end because someone new arrived at the wrong time. And suddenly, what felt comfortable starts feeling routine. What felt stable starts feeling predictable, and predictability can feel boring to someone chasing excitement. But what hurts the most is realizing this. I never got the chance to compete fairly because I wasn't competing at all. I thought I was building something solid, while she was slowly deciding whether she still wanted it. And once someone starts questioning the connection, everything changes. Their energy changes, their priorities shift, their attention moves, and eventually their choice becomes clear. She chose him, and I was left trying to understand how something that once felt mutual could suddenly feel one-sided. After she chose him, something strange happened inside my head. At first it was anger, not loud anger, not the kind where you yell or send messages you regret. The quiet kind, the kind that makes you stare at the ceiling at night wondering how everything changed so fast. Because when someone chooses someone else over you, it feels like a judgment, like a decision about your value, and that's where your mind goes first. You start comparing yourself to someone you've never even met. Is he better than me? Does he make her laugh more? Does he understand her in ways I couldn't? Did she see something in him that she stopped seeing in me? Your brain starts building a version of this person that's somehow superior in every way. But the truth is, most of those comparisons are imaginary because you're not actually comparing yourself to him. You're comparing yourself to the idea of him, the version of him that exists in your mind. And that version always looks unbeatable because when you're hurt, your brain automatically assumes you lost to someone better. But relationships aren't competitions, they're choices, and choices aren't always logical. Sometimes people choose someone because the timing feels different. Sometimes they choose someone because the energy feels new. Sometimes they choose someone simply because they're in a different emotional place. None of that automatically means you are less valuable, but in the moment it definitely feels like it does, because rejection has a way of shrinking your confidence. It makes you forget who you were before the situation happened. Before she chose him, I knew exactly who I was. Someone loyal, someone consistent, someone who showed up even when things weren't easy. But when she chose him, for a while, it made me question all of that. It made me wonder if loyalty was boring, consistency was predictable, if stability was something she stopped appreciating, and those thoughts are dangerous, because when someone leaves you for someone else, the easiest trap to fall into is believing you weren't enough. But the truth is this: someone choosing a different person doesn't erase the way you loved them. It doesn't erase the effort you gave. It doesn't erase the value you brought to the relationship. It only means one thing. At that moment in her life, she felt pulled in a different direction. Yeah, that hurts, because nobody wants to be the direction someone walks away from. But sometimes the person who walks away is simply walking towards something they think they need to experience, and that doesn't automatically mean you were the wrong person. Sometimes it just means you weren't the final chapter in their story. After a while, the anger fades. Not completely, but enough that something else starts replacing it. Reflection. Because once the shock of being replaced settles, you start looking back at the relationship differently. You stop asking, why did she choose him? And you start asking something more honest. When did she start drifting away? Because choices like that rarely happen overnight. They build slowly, little emotional shifts that you barely notice in the moment, conversations that feel shorter, moments that feel less connected, energy that feels slightly different. At first you ignore it, because when you love someone, your instinct isn't to assume the worst, your instinct is to trust them. So when something feels off, you tell yourself it's temporary. Maybe she's stressed, maybe she's tired, maybe she just needs space. But sometimes those small changes aren't temporary. Sometimes they're the early signs that someone's feelings are shifting. And the hardest part about that realization is this: you can be doing everything right, and someone can still start emotionally leaving. I showed up the same way I always did. I was consistent, I listened, I tried to support her when things got hard. But sometimes relationships don't end because someone did something wrong. Sometimes they end because someone starts feeling something different. And feelings don't always follow logic. That's the uncomfortable truth. Because when someone chooses someone else, it feels like a failure. Like you must have done something wrong. But relationships aren't math equations. You can do everything right and still lose someone who simply felt pulled in another direction. And that's the part that takes the longest to accept, because your mind keeps looking for a mistake you could fix, a moment you could redo, a conversation you could handle differently. But sometimes there isn't a moment like that. Sometimes someone simply grows into a different version of themselves, and that version chooses a different path. And yeah, that realization hurts, because it means you can't undo it. You can't argue someone back into choosing you. You can't compete for someone who already decided. Once someone makes that choice, the only thing left for you to do is face the reality of it. She chose him. And for a while that felt like the end of my story, but eventually I realized something important. It was just the end of that chapter. After enough time passes, the pain starts changing shape. It's still there, but it's quieter. Not because what happened didn't matter, but because you slowly start seeing the situation from a different angle. At first, when she chose him, it felt like I lost. Like I had been replaced, like everything I gave somehow wasn't enough to make her stay. But the longer I sat with that feeling, the more I started realizing something important. Being chosen isn't something you can force. No amount of effort can make someone choose you if their heart is leaning somewhere else. And that's a hard truth to accept, because when you love someone, you want to believe effort is enough. You want to believe loyalty matters. You want to believe consistency will eventually win. But sometimes the person you're giving all of that to is already drifting emotionally. And when someone's heart starts drifting, effort doesn't pull them back the way you hope it will. It just delays the inevitable. Looking back now, I started noticing things I didn't fully understand at the time. Moments where she felt distant, moments where the connection felt slightly different. Not broken, just weaker. But when you're inside the relationship, you don't see those moments as warnings. You see them as temporary. You assume things will go back to normal because that's what love does. It makes you hopeful, but sometimes hope keeps you holding on to something that someone else has already started letting go of, and that's the painful imbalance. One person still trying to build, the other person quietly preparing to leave. So when she finally chose him, it felt sudden to me, but maybe for her that decision had been forming long before the moment it actually happened, and realizing that helped me understand something I didn't want to accept at first. I didn't lose her in a single moment. I lost her slowly over time. Realizing I lost her slowly instead of all at once changed the way I saw everything, because for a while I kept replaying the moment she chose him like it was the exact second everything ended. But the truth is, endings like that rarely happen in one moment. They happen in stages. First the energy changes, then the attention shifts, then the emotional connection weakens, and eventually the decision just confirms what was already happening beneath the surface. Looking back, I started seeing things more clearly. There were moments where she seemed distracted, moments where our conversations felt less alive, moments where it felt like I was talking to someone who was physically there, but emotionally somewhere else. At the time, I didn't question it too much, because when you trust someone, you don't immediately assume they're drifting away. You assume things will stabilize again. You assume whatever feels off is temporary. But sometimes those moments aren't temporary. Sometimes they're the beginning of the emotional distance that eventually turns into separation. And when someone new enters the picture during that distance, everything accelerates, because now the attention they used to give you is being shared with someone else. And attention is powerful. Where attention goes, feelings follow. That's the part people don't realize until it's too late. Relationships don't only end because of arguments or big betrayals. Sometimes they end because someone else slowly starts occupying emotional space that used to belong to you. And once that space is filled, the connection you had starts shrinking. Not because you stopped trying, but because their focus shifted. And when someone's focus shifts, their feelings usually follow. So when she finally chose him, it felt sudden to me. But maybe it wasn't sudden at all. Maybe it was just the final step in something that had been changing quietly for a long time, and accepting that wasn't easy, because it meant admitting that the relationship I thought I still had was already fading before I realized it. Once I accepted that the relationship had been fading before the moment she chose him, something else started changing inside me. The story in my head started shifting. At first, the story was simple. She chose him because I wasn't enough. That thought sits heavy when someone leaves you for someone else, because it makes it feel like a comparison you lost, like you were weighed against someone else and came up short. But the more time passed, the more I started questioning that narrative, because if I'm honest with myself, I know who I was in that relationship. I was loyal, I was present, I showed up when things weren't easy, I stayed even when conversations got difficult, and those things don't suddenly lose value just because someone decides to walk away. Sometimes people don't leave because you were lacking something. Sometimes they leave because they're searching for something different, different timing, different energy, different experiences. And when someone is searching for something different, the person they leave behind isn't always the problem. They're just not the direction that person wants to move in anymore. That realization doesn't erase the pain instantly, but it does change the way you carry it, because instead of feeling like you lost a competition, you start realizing that you were simply part of someone else's journey, a chapter, not the entire story. And yeah, that can be hard to accept at first, because when you're in love, you don't imagine yourself as just a chapter. You imagine yourself as the ending, but life doesn't always work like that. Sometimes people walk into your life for a season, they teach you something, they change you in ways you didn't expect, and then they move on to a different path. And when that happens, the choice they make isn't always about your worth. Sometimes it's simply about their direction. She chose him, but that doesn't mean I was someone unworthy of being chosen. It just means her path went somewhere else. By the time enough time passed, the pain stopped feeling like rejection and started feeling more like clarity, because when someone chooses someone else over you, it forces you to confront something uncomfortable. You can't control who someone chooses. You can't convince someone to value what they've already started letting go of, and you definitely can't compete for someone who's already made their decision. For a long time, I thought about what I could have done differently. Maybe I could have been more exciting, maybe I could have been more unpredictable, maybe I could have noticed the distance sooner. But eventually I realized something important. Even if I had done everything perfectly, the outcome might have been the same. Because when someone's feelings start shifting, they don't always shift because of something you did wrong. Sometimes they shift because that person is changing. Their priorities change, their emotions change, the things they're drawn to change. And when that happens, the person they once chose can slowly stop feeling like the person they want to keep choosing. That doesn't mean the connection was fake, it just means it wasn't permanent. And once I understood that, something inside me relaxed, not because it stopped hurting, but because I stopped trying to rewrite the past. I stopped trying to find the exact moment where everything could have been saved, because sometimes relationships don't end because of a single mistake. Sometimes they end because two people slowly start walking in different directions, and when that happens, no amount of effort can force the paths back together. She chose him, and for a long time, that sentence felt like the worst thing that could have happened to me. But eventually I started realizing something else. If someone can choose someone else over you, then they were never meant to be the person who chooses you forever. And that realization hurts at first, but it also frees you, because it reminds you that being chosen by the wrong person isn't the goal. Being chosen by the right person is. Looking back now, the moment she chose him doesn't define me the way it used to. At first it felt like proof that I lost something important, but over time I realized something different. I didn't lose my ability to love, I didn't lose my loyalty, I didn't lose the way I show up for people when I care about them. Those things didn't disappear just because one person decided to walk away. The only thing that changed was the direction my life was moving in. And maybe that direction was always meant to change, because the truth is, relationships aren't about holding on to someone who no longer chooses you. They're about eventually finding someone who continues choosing you, not once, not only when things feel easy, but again and again. Through the normal days, through the difficult conversations, through the moments where excitement fades and what's left is commitment. And if someone can walk away from you for someone else, it simply means they weren't the person who was going to make that kind of commitment. She chose him, and that used to feel like the end of my story. Now it just feels like a moment that redirected it, because one day someone else will choose me. When they do, it won't feel like a competition, it'll feel like certainty. Take me back to the night we met, because that was the last time everything felt untouched, the last time my heart wasn't carrying the weight of you. I replay it more than I should. The way you smiled like you had no idea what you were about to become to me. The way time slowed down for just a second, almost like the universe was whispering, "Pay attention, this moment is going to matter someday." And I swear, I didn't know it then. I didn't know how deeply that night would root itself into my memory, how it would become the bookmark I keep flipping back to, even when I'm trying so hard to move forward. Back then, everything felt light, pure, hopeful, like life was finally giving me something soft to hold on to. I didn't know that softness would one day turn into something that hurts to remember, because now I'm just learning to live with the ghost of you. You're not here, you're not gone, you just exist in every place my mind wanders when it's tired. I see you in strangers' mannerisms, in songs that randomly come on, in the silence of my room when it's too late to pretend I'm okay. It's the little things that get me, The way a random memory will hit me out of nowhere, like the universe is trying to remind me of something I've been trying to forget. I'll hear a laugh that sounds like yours, or a phrase you used to say, and suddenly I'm right back in that moment, standing next to the version of me who still had you. And the worst part, I don't know how to move on, not really. People tell me time heals, but all time has done is make the memory sharper, clearer, more painful in a way I didn't expect. I don't need forever with you. I don't need a perfect ending. Sometimes I just wish I could go back to the before I knew what it felt like to miss someone who is still alive, just not mine. Before I learned how heavy memories can feel when they become the only place someone still exists. Take me back to the night we met, because that was the last time my heart wasn't haunted by you. I stayed loyal, even when it got hard. Even when we were arguing more than laughing, even when my friends were telling me I deserved better, even when I felt unappreciated, I stayed. Not because I didn't have options, not because I couldn't walk away, but because when I commit fully. Loyalty isn't something I switch on and off depending on how I feel that week. It's a decision, and I made it. I ignored distractions, I curved attention, I shut down conversations that crossed boundaries. Not because I was scared of getting caught, but because I respected what we had. So when I found out she didn't stay loyal, it didn't just hurt, it confused me. Because how do two people sit in the same relationship and value it completely differently? The part that messed with me wasn't just the betrayal, it was a realization that while I was protecting us, she was exploring her options. While I was defending her name in rooms she wasn't in, she was entertaining someone else's attention. While I was shutting down temptation quietly, she was responding to it. And that imbalance hits deeper than people realize, because loyalty isn't loud. You don't get applause for it. No one congratulates you for not cheating. It's invisible, it's internal, it's discipline. So when you find out the person you were loyal to didn't have that same discipline, it makes you feel stupid for being solid, like you overinvested, like you believed in something that wasn't mutual. I started replaying everything, was she distant because she was already talking to someone else? Were those late replies really just being busy? Was I fighting for something that was already slipping away? Because once trust cracks, your mind rewrites history. You start connecting dots that might not even be there. And that's exhausting, because loyalty is built on trust, and once trust is broken, even your memories feel unstable. I wasn't perfect, but I was faithful. And that matters, because loyalty isn't about being flawless, it's about being intentional. It's about choosing your partner even when temptation is available. It's about respecting boundaries even when no one is watching. And I did that, she didn't. What hurts the most is knowing I would have never done that to her. I wouldn't have risked what we built for a moment of validation. I wouldn't have jeopardized long-term trust for short-term attention, because I understood the weight of betrayal, and she didn't treat it like it was heavy. That's what breaks something inside you, not just the act, the carelessness, because cheating isn't always about love disappearing. Sometimes it's about discipline disappearing. And if someone lacks discipline and loyalty, they'll lack it when things get hard too. For a while I questioned myself. Was I too available, too forgiving, too trusting? Did my loyalty make me predictable? Because when you get betrayed, your brain tries to find ways to avoid feeling powerless again. But here's the truth. My loyalty wasn't weakness, it was character. And her disloyalty wasn't power, it was immaturity. There's a difference. One requires strength, the other requires impulse. People think being cheated on makes you look foolish, but the real foolishness is betraying someone who was solid. I lost someone who didn't value loyalty. She lost someone who actually lived by it. And those are two very different losses, because I can recover, I can heal, I can rebuild. But replacing someone who is genuinely loyal, that's harder than people think. I don't regret staying loyal, even knowing how it ended, because my character doesn't shift based on someone else's behavior. I don't cheat because I'm angry. I don't entertain options because I'm bored. I don't step out because things feel heavy. If I'm unhappy, I leave. I don't betray, and that standard stays with me, not for her, for me. The scary part after betrayal is this: you start wondering if loyalty is even worth it. If everyone cheats eventually, If trusting deeply just makes you vulnerable, but I refuse to let someone else's lack of integrity change mine, because loyalty isn't outdated, it's rare. And rare doesn't mean foolish, it means valuable. She didn't stay loyal, but that says nothing about my worth. It says everything about her discipline, her boundaries, her emotional maturity. Because if someone can look at loyalty and still step outside it, they were never anchored. And I don't want someone who floats when things get tested. I want someone who stands. I stayed loyal, even when it was inconvenient, even when it was tempting not to, even when I felt underappreciated, and I'll stay that way. Not because everyone deserves it, but because I deserve to be someone who lives by principle. She didn't stay loyal, and that hurt, but I'd rather be the one who was solid than the one who couldn't hold a commitment. Because loyalty doesn't make you weak, it makes you rare, and one day someone will recognize that instead of testing it. You know what actually hurts? Wanting to be in love, but realizing you can't stay in it. You finally meet someone good, they're kind, they're loyal, they care about you in a way that feels real. On paper, they're everything you're supposed to want, and for a moment you think, maybe this is it, but then they like you back, and something in you shuts off, not slowly, not gently. It's like the feeling disappears overnight. You try to force it. You tell yourself to be grateful. You try to match their energy, their effort, their love, but instead of growing closer, you start pulling away. You notice flaws that didn't bother you before. You get irritated over small things. You find reasons to create distance, and suddenly you're the problem. On the outside, it looks like you're sabotaging something good, like you're avoiding someone who treats you right. But inside, it feels worse than that. It feels suffocating, because even when you try to stay, it feels like you're trapped in something you can't feel the way you're supposed to. The messed up part, you still care. Somewhere deep down, you don't want to hurt them. You don't want to be cold. You don't want to be the reason someone feels unwanted, but you also don't know how to love them without losing yourself. And that kind of conflict turns love into guilt. What's confusing about this feeling is that it only shows up with the right kind of person, not the chaotic ones, not the ones who make you anxious, not the ones who disappear and keep you guessing. It happens with the ones who are steady, the ones who reply, who show up, who don't play games with your emotions, and instead of feeling safe, your body reacts like something's wrong. You don't feel excitement, you feel pressure, not because they're asking for too much, but because they're offering consistency, and you don't know how to relax inside it. There's no chase, no uncertainty, no emotional roller coaster to distract you. So your mind starts searching for escape routes. You tell yourself you're bored, that the spark is gone, that something feels off, and even if you can't explain why. But deep down, it's not disinterest, it's unfamiliarity, because when you're used to love being unstable, peace can feel empty. And when you're used to earning affection, being chosen freely can feel undeserved. So instead of leaning in, you pull away, you create distance so you can breathe again, not because they're hurting you, but because closeness is touching something unhealed. And that's the part nobody prepares you for. Sometimes the problem isn't that you don't want love, it's that you've never learned how to stay when love doesn't hurt. At some point, this starts to mess with how you see yourself, because now you're not just confused, you're guilty. You look at them and think, yeah, they didn't do anything wrong. They're patient, they're kind, they're trying, and you're the one pulling back. So you start labeling yourself cold, broken, unappreciative, the person who ruins good things. From the outside, it looks simple. Why would you walk away from someone who treats you right? But what they don't see is how trapped you feel inside the expectation to feel something you can't force. You don't hate them. You hate the pressure to become the version of yourself that knows how to stay. So instead of being honest, you distance yourself, you reply slower, you stop initiating. You hope they'll lose interest so you don't have to explain yourself. And that's the part that hurts the most, not losing them, hurting someone who didn't deserve it. You carry that with you. The knowledge that somewhere someone is wondering what they did wrong, when the truth is you just didn't know how to receive what they were offering. And that realization sits heavy, because wanting love but not knowing how to hold it feels like a flaw you can't explain, only live with. Avoidance doesn't come from not caring, it comes from caring too much and not knowing how to say it. Because how do you explain something like this without sounding cruel? How do you tell someone, you're good to me, but I don't feel what I'm supposed to feel? There's no gentle way to say that. So instead of explaining, you disappear emotionally. You convince yourself silence is kinder. That distance will hurt less than honesty, but silence creates its own kind of damage. They feel it, the shift, the hesitation, the way your energy isn't the same anymore, and you feel it too. Every message feels heavier. Every interaction feels like a reminder that you're failing at something that should be simple. So you keep avoiding the conversation, hoping clarity will show up on its own, but it doesn't. All that grows is resentment, not toward them, but toward yourself, because now you're stuck between two fears, hurting them by telling the truth, or hurting them slowly by pulling away. And avoidance feels safer in the moment because it delays the guilt, but it doesn't remove it, it just stretches it out. And the longer you stay quiet, the harder it becomes to speak honestly at all. If you look closer, this pattern isn't about them at all. It's about what closeness brings up in you, because real healthy affection doesn't distract you from yourself. It brings you face to face with things you buried, old fears, old wounds, old beliefs about what love costs. When someone is consistent, there's nowhere to hide. You can't blame mixed signals, you can't blame distance, you can't blame uncertainty. All that's left is you, and the part of you that learned early on that love comes with pressure. Pressure to be enough, pressure to stay, pressure to not mess it up. So your system does what it learned to do best. It pulls away before it can fail. Avoidance isn't rejection, it's self-protection. You're not running from them, you're running from the version of yourself that feels exposed when someone chooses you fully. Because being wanted means being seen. And being seen means being vulnerable in ways you never learned were safe. So your mind flips the switch, you call it disinterest, you call it boredom, you call it not feeling it, but underneath all of that is fear, not of losing them, but of losing control. Eventually a realization starts to creep in. This isn't about love failing, it's about healing that hasn't happened yet. Because when someone offers you something real, it presses on the places you never finished healing, not because they're doing anything wrong, but because closeness exposes what avoidance kept quiet. Love asks questions you've been dodging. It asks you to be present. It asks you to trust consistency. It asks you to stay when things feel uncomfortable instead of dramatic. And if your past taught you that love comes with loss, your body reacts before your mind can explain it. So instead of leaning in, you shut down, not because you don't care, but because caring activates fear, fear of dependency, fear of responsibility, fear of becoming someone who needs another person, because somewhere along the way, you learned that needing someone meant giving them the power to hurt you. So when love shows up calm and steady, your nervous system mistakes it for danger, and you don't realize what's happening until later, after you've already pulled away, after you've already created distance, after you've already blamed yourself. But this moment matters because once you see that this isn't disinterest, it's unhealed fear, you stop calling yourself broken, you start calling it what it is, a signal. Once you see the pattern, something changes, not overnight, not perfectly, but you stop running on autopilot. You start noticing the moment your body wants to pull away, the urge to detach, the instinct to create distance the second things feel real, and instead of obeying it immediately, you pause. You ask yourself, am I actually uninterested, or am I uncomfortable? That question alone changes everything, because discomfort isn't a red flag, it's a signal. It tells you something important is happening. something unfamiliar, something that requires presence instead of escape. So instead of disappearing, you stay a little longer. You don't force feelings, you don't fake certainty. You just allow yourself to exist inside the discomfort without punishing it. You start choosing honesty over avoidance, not brutal honesty, gentle honesty. I'm confused, I'm scared, I don't know what I'm feeling yet. And for the first time, connection doesn't feel like a trap. It feels like practice. Practice staying, practice communicating, practice letting someone see you without immediately taking that away. You realize something important here. You don't have to feel everything at once. You don't have to be sure. You just have to stop abandoning yourself the moment love asks you to be present. At the end of all this, you start to understand something clearly. Love was never the problem. Fear was. Fear was the thing turning care into pressure. Fear was the thing making peace feel boring. Fear was the thing convincing you that pulling away was safer than staying. When fear stops leading, love feels different. It's quieter, slower, less dramatic. It doesn't hit like chaos. It doesn't demand certainty right away. It doesn't make you feel trapped. It gives you space to exist without disappearing. Real love doesn't ask you to force feelings. It doesn't punish confusion. It doesn't make you feel like you're failing for needing time. It lets you grow into it, and when you stop running, you realize something important. Caring doesn't mean losing yourself. Staying doesn't mean being stuck. And choosing someone doesn't mean giving up control. It just means you're present. You're allowed to learn how to love differently than you were taught. You're allowed to take it slow. You're allowed to feel unsure without self-sabotaging. And most of all, you're allowed to stop hating yourself for struggling with something you were never shown how to do safely, because the moment love stops being about fear is the moment it finally starts feeling real. No one really talks about how long guys are willing to wait for the one girl they truly want. Months go by, sometimes even years, and all it takes is one sentence she said one time, maybe one day. I'm just not ready right now. I need time. And he holds on to those words like they're a promise, like they're proof that if he just waits long enough, things will eventually work out. So he waits quietly, he waits patiently, he waits while pretending he's okay even when he's not. Because when a guy sees you in his future, when he's certain about you, when his heart already chose you, waiting feels easier than letting go. He tells himself she just needs time. She's healing. She'll come back when she's ready. And sometimes I don't even know if that kind of waiting is beautiful or if it's self-destructive, because love like that is rare. A man who's willing to pause his own feelings, put his heart on hold, and stay loyal to the idea of you, even when he doesn't know if you'll ever choose him, that's not weakness. That's commitment. So if you have a man like that, a man who's willing to wait for you while you figure things out, you can't take that lightly. Handle what you need to handle, heal what you need to heal, take the time you need, but don't keep him hanging if you already know you're not coming back, because the worst thing you can do is let someone wait on hope when all that's waiting for them is disappointment. A lot of men won't walk away. They'll sit there holding on by a thread, telling themselves one more month, one more sign, one more chance, and they'll wait. Not because they're desperate, but because they genuinely care. So if you can love him again, do it fully. And if you can't, tell him. Don't make him wait just to hurt him, just to crush him, just to break a heart that was only trying to love you right. Sometimes I don't question if I love people. I question if I'm loved the same way back. Not liked, not wanted when it's convenient. Actually loved. The kind of love that chooses you even when it's inconvenient. Because attention is easy to get. Replies are easy. Compliments are easy. Late night I miss you texts are easy. But consistency is rare. And sometimes I sit there wondering, do they love me? Or do they just like how I make them feel? I show up fully, I remember details, I check in, I move intentionally. So when effort feels uneven, it doesn't make me angry. It makes me question everything. Am I asking for too much, or am I just asking the wrong person? You can be surrounded by people and still feel unloved, because love isn't about volume. It's about depth. It's about feeling chosen without begging, feeling secure without overthinking, feeling valued without performing. And when you don't feel that, you start shrinking. Sometimes the scariest thought isn't, what if they leave? It's, what if they're here but they don't love me deeply? Because half love is confusing. It keeps you around, it keeps you hopeful, but it never fully reassures you. And that's exhausting. At think a lot of us don't need more love. We need clearer love. Love that says what it means. Love that acts how it speaks. Love that doesn't leave room for constant doubt, because if I have to guess, it doesn't feel safe. And maybe the real shift isn't asking, am I loved? So I do, okay. Maybe it's asking, do I feel loved? Because love can exist, but if you don't feel it consistently, it won't heal you. It'll just confuse you. I don't want intense love. I don't want dramatic love. I want steady love. The kind that doesn't disappear when things get heavy. The kind that doesn't go quiet when reassurance is needed. The kind that doesn't make me earn my place. If I'm loved, I shouldn't have to decode it. I shouldn't have to overanalyze it. I shouldn't have to convince myself of it. Love shouldn't feel like a debate. It should feel like certainty. So am I loved? Maybe the better question is, am I staying in spaces where I consistently feel valued? Because real love doesn't make you question your worth. It reinforces it, and if I ever have to constantly wonder whether I'm loved, that might be my answer. I've been thinking about something lately. There's a difference between being loved and being convenient, and sometimes I can't tell which one I am. Because you say you love me, you act like you care, you stay. But staying isn't the same as investing. You can stay in someone's life because they're easy, because they're understanding, because they don't cause too many problems, because they don't threaten your comfort. That doesn't automatically mean you love them deeply. And that's where my mind starts wandering. If I stopped being easy, if I stopped being patient, if I stopped adjusting when you're distant, if I stopped giving you the benefit of the doubt every time something feels off, would you still love me the same? Or would things start feeling heavier to you? Because I love in a way that's active. I think about you when you're not around. I consider how my actions affect you. I replay conversations to make sure I didn't hurt you unintentionally. I check in even when I'm tired. And I don't do that to be praised. I do that because I care, so when I don't feel that same level of intentionality back, it doesn't make me angry. It makes me unsure, because love shouldn't feel like something one person maintains. It shouldn't feel like if I stopped trying, everything would slowly collapse. Sometimes I wonder if you love the way I show up for you, but not the actual weight of loving me back, because loving me means consistency. It means emotional awareness. It means showing up even when you're stressed. It means reassuring without being asked 5 times. And I don't know if you're loving me or just enjoying how I love you. And that difference matters more than people think. Because I don't want to be someone's peace if I'm not also their priority. I don't want to be someone's stability if I'm not also deeply valued. I don't want to be easy to keep just because I'm hard to lose. I want to feel chosen loudly enough that I don't question it silently. And lately, I've been questioning it. I think what makes this question uncomfortable is that nothing is technically wrong. You're not cruel, you're not distant all the time, you're not openly careless. But love isn't just about what someone isn't doing. It's about what they are doing consistently. And sometimes I feel like I'm filling in emotional gaps you don't even notice are there. When I feel tension, I address it. When I sense distance, I close it. When communication weakens, I strengthen it. But when I pull back slightly, even a little, I can feel the difference immediately, and that tells me something. Because if the connection shifts the moment I stop overcompensating, then maybe I've been holding more weight than I realized. And that's exhausting. Not physically, emotionally. Because loving someone deeply while wondering if they love you with the same intentionality creates a quiet insecurity you don't talk about out loud. You start asking yourself subtle questions. If I didn't initiate, would they? If I didn't reassure, would they? If I didn't bring warmth into the conversation, would it still feel warm? And I don't want to think like that. I don't want to calculate effort. I don't want to measure energy. But imbalance forces you to notice patterns, and patterns don't lie. There's also a difference between being wanted and being valued. Wanted is temporary, wanted is emotional in the moment. Valued is consistent. Valued means you're considered in decisions. Valued means your feelings are handled carefully. valued means someone protects the connection, even when things feel stable. Sometimes I feel wanted, but I don't always feel protected. And protection doesn't mean control, it means awareness. It means someone thinking, I don't want to lose this, so I'll handle it with care. I want to feel like that. I don't want to be someone you assume will always stay. I want to be someone you actively choose to keep, because there's a dangerous comfort in knowing someone is loyal. It can make you relax too much. It can make you stop trying as hard. It can make you think effort isn't urgent anymore. But love without continued effort slowly turns into maintenance, and maintenance feels transactional. I don't want to be loved because I'm stable. I don't want to be loved because I'm understanding. I don't want to be loved because I don't make things difficult. I want to be loved because I matter, because my presence is important to you, because losing me would actually affect you, not just inconvenience you. And if I ever have to question that for too long, then something isn't landing the way love should. Because when you're deeply loved, you don't feel like you're the only one holding the emotional glue together. You feel supported, you feel met, you feel secure enough to stop asking whether you're too much. And until I feel that consistently, not just in moments, not just after I express doubt, that question will keep circling in my mind. Do you love me, or do you just like having me around? There's something I haven't said out loud. I think I'm afraid of being loved comfortably. Not passionately, not intentionally, comfortably. Comfortable love is quiet. It assumes I'll always be there. It stops checking as much. It stops pursuing as much. It stops protecting the connection as carefully. And it doesn't look toxic. It just slowly feels less alive, less intentional. Because in the beginning, you pay attention to everything. You notice small mood changes, you ask deeper questions, you show up with energy. But once things feel secure, once I've proven I'm loyal, once you feel like I'm not going anywhere, do you still put in that same care? Or do you relax into the assumption that I'll always adjust? Because here's the truth, I do adjust. I understand when you're tired, I understand when you're stressed, I understand when you need space, but understanding shouldn't mean I absorb everything. It shouldn't mean I silently carry the emotional difference. And sometimes I feel like I do. Sometimes I feel like I love you in ways that require awareness, and you love me in ways that require comfort. There's a difference. Awareness asks, how does this affect them? Comfort asks, they'll understand. And I always do. But at what cost? Because when you're the emotionally steady one, the patient one, the consistent one, people forget you still need reassurance too. They forget you still need to feel chosen. They forget that even the calmest person can start questioning things if effort shifts. And I've felt shifts, not dramatic ones, small ones, less curiosity, less intentional communication, less urgency to fix small disconnects. And when small disconnects aren't addressed, they grow, not into explosions, into distance. And distance is quiet, it doesn't scream. It settles. It makes you feel slightly alone even when someone is right there. That's the part that scares me, not losing you. Feeling alone while still having you. Because if I'm going to love someone deeply, I don't want to feel like I'm maintaining it by myself. I don't want to feel like my emotional awareness is what keeps us stable. I want to feel met. I want to feel like if I pull back slightly, you lean in. I want to feel like if I'm overwhelmed, you step up. I want to feel like if I go quiet, you notice without me announcing it. That's love, not just staying, not just saying it, but actively participating in it. And until I feel that consistently, not just when I bring it up, not just after conflict, not just when I look distant, that question will sit with me. Are you loving me deeply, or just loving the fact that I make things easy? I think the hardest truth I'm slowly accepting is this. If I have to constantly question the depth of your love, then something about it doesn't feel secure. And love without security becomes anxiety. Not loud anxiety, quiet anxiety. The kind where I replay conversations in my head, the kind where I overanalyze tone, the kind where I wonder if I'm asking for too much just because I want consistency. And I don't want to be that version of myself. I don't want to love guarded. I don't want to measure how much I give. I don't want to calculate who initiates more. I don't want to mentally track effort just to reassure myself that things are balanced, because love shouldn't feel like an equation. It shouldn't feel like if I relax, everything will slowly fall apart. It should feel shared, protected from both sides, maintained by both people. There's a difference between being loved and being relied on. Being relied on means you're useful. Being loved means you're valued. Being relied on means you bring stability. Being loved means someone protects your emotional stability too. Being relied on feels good at first. It feels important, but over time, if it's not matched with intentional care, it starts to feel heavy, because I don't want to be the emotional backbone of something without feeling emotionally supported myself. And here's the part that really matters. If I stopped being the easy one, if I stopped being the understanding one, if I stopped smoothing over tension before it grows, if I stopped filling emotional gaps without mentioning them, would you step up? Would you fight for it the same way? Would you lean in instead of leaning back? Or would things slowly drift because I'm no longer overcompensating? That question tells me everything, because real love doesn't depend on one person's emotional maturity to survive. Real love meets you halfway. It notices your silence. It responds to your distance with concern, not ego. It protects your heart even when you're not actively asking for protection. And I don't want dramatic love. I don't want obsessive love. I don't want love that feels like chaos. I want love that feels intentional. I want to feel chosen without begging for it. I want to feel prioritized without competing for it. I want to feel secure without constantly seeking proof. Because if you truly love me deeply, I won't feel like I'm guessing. I won't feel like I'm trying to convince myself. I won't feel like I'm the one holding the emotional glue together. I'll feel it in your consistency, in your effort after comfort sets in your willingness to maintain what we have instead of assuming it will maintain itself. And maybe you do love me, but if I constantly feel like I'm the one protecting the connection, then it's not balanced. And love without balance eventually becomes exhaustion. So the real question isn't just, do you love me? It's this: if I stop making it easy to love me, would you still love me the same? Or have I just been convenient all along? There's something about half-secure love that changes you slowly, not overnight, not dramatically, but quietly. You stop asking for reassurance because you don't want to seem needy. You stop bringing up small things because you don't want to create tension. You start telling yourself it's not that serious, even when it is. And little by little, you become smaller inside the relationship, not because you're weak, because you're trying to protect it. But protection shouldn't only come from one side. I shouldn't feel like I'm constantly managing the emotional temperature. I shouldn't feel like I'm the one making sure things don't drift, because when you love someone deeply, you don't just assume they'll stay. You actively maintain the connection. You don't just rely on their loyalty. You honor it. And sometimes I wonder if you've gotten used to me, used to my patience, used to my consistency, used to the fact that I rarely overreact. And being used to is dangerous, because comfort without effort turns into complacency, and complacency slowly turns into distance. And distance is what makes someone start asking questions they never wanted to ask. I don't need to be chased every day, but I do need to feel chosen every day. There's a difference. Chasing is about excitement. Choosing is about intention. Choosing means you still show effort after the honeymoon phase fades. Choosing means you still check in emotionally even when nothing is wrong. Choosing means you don't let comfort replace care. And that's what I crave. Not intensity, not drama, not chaos disguised as passion. I want steady love, the kind where I don't have to analyze tone, the kind where I don't feel like I'm overthinking every small shift, the kind where my nervous system isn't constantly scanning for changes. Because when love feels secure, your body relaxes. You don't brace for distance. You don't anticipate inconsistency. You don't question whether you matter that day. And lately I've caught myself bracing. That's what scares me. I've realized something about myself. When I start questioning whether I'm loved, I don't get loud. I get quiet. I observe more. I speak less. I test nothing, but I notice everything. I notice if you initiate. I notice if you reassure without being prompted. I notice if your effort stays steady or fluctuates. And if it fluctuates too much, I don't argue. I slowly detach, not because I want to, but because protecting my heart becomes instinct. And once I start detaching, it's hard to reverse. Because detachment doesn't come from anger. It comes from exhaustion. From feeling like you've been carrying something emotionally alone for too long, and I don't want to detach from you. I want to feel secure with you, but security requires reciprocity. I think what hurts most is the possibility that you love me in your own way, but not in the way I need. And love isn't just about what you feel internally, it's about how it translates externally. If your love makes me feel unsure, if your love makes me feel like I'm asking for too much when I ask for consistency, if your love makes me feel like I have to shrink to keep the peace, then something isn't aligning, because real love doesn't make you question your value. It reinforces it. It doesn't make you wonder if you're too emotional. It makes you feel safe expressing emotion. And I don't want to be in a position where I'm constantly explaining why I need reassurance. I want it to feel natural, mutual, balanced. Here's the truth I don't say out loud. I don't want to compete with your comfort. I don't want to fight against your laziness. I don't want to beg for effort that should come naturally when someone truly values you. Because if you deeply loved me, you wouldn't want to risk losing me through neglect. You wouldn't let small disconnects grow. You wouldn't assume I'll always stay no matter what. You would treat the connection like it matters, not just when things feel unstable, but especially when things feel secure. Because secure love still requires maintenance, it still requires intention, it still requires showing up fully. And if I ever feel like I'm the only one doing that consistently, that's when love starts feeling heavy instead of safe. So do you love me? Or do you just like having me? Because those two things look similar at first, but over time, they feel very different. Liking having me means you enjoy my presence. Loving me means you protect it. Liking having me means you're comfortable. Loving me means you're intentional. Liking having me means you assume I'll stay. Loving me means you make sure I want to, and I don't want to stay somewhere I feel half secure. I don't want to slowly shrink just to keep something alive. I don't want to love loudly while feeling loved quietly. I want balance. I want mutual effort. I want to feel so consistently chosen that I stop asking myself this question entirely, because when you are deeply loved, you don't sit alone wondering. You feel it in the way they show up every day, not perfectly, but intentionally. And if I ever have to keep convincing myself that I'm loved, then maybe I'm not asking for too much. Maybe I'm just ready for a love that makes the answer obvious. Sometimes I don't question whether I love people. I know I do. I love intentionally, I love in details, I love in the quiet ways that don't always get noticed. I remember the small things you said 3 months ago. I notice when your voice sounds slightly different. I pay attention to your moods without you having to explain them. If you're overwhelmed, I adjust. If you're distant, I check in. If you're hurting, I feel it too. So when I sit alone and that thought creeps in, am I actually loved the same way? It doesn't come from insecurity. It comes from imbalance, because loving someone isn't hard for me, but feeling consistently loved back, that's where it gets complicated. There's a difference between being wanted and being valued, between being chosen and being considered, between someone enjoying your presence and someone protecting your heart. And sometimes I can't tell which one I am. Am I loved, or am I just convenient? Am I loved, or am I just consistent? Am I loved, or am I just the safe option, the stable one, the reliable one, the one who won't leave easily? Because because people say I love you all the time, but love isn't proven in the words, it's proven in patterns. Do you show up the same way on random days, not just when you're lonely? Do you care about my emotions when they're inconvenient? Do you notice when I go quiet, or do you only feel my absence when I stop giving? That's the part nobody talks about. You can be in a relationship, you can be talking every day. You can be physically close and still feel emotionally unsure, still feel like you're giving more than you're receiving, still feel like if you stop trying so hard, everything would fall apart. And if that's true, is that love? Or is that maintenance? I don't need constant reassurance. I don't need over-the-top affection. I don't need dramatic gestures. But I need to feel secure. I need to feel like I matter when I'm not performing strength. I need to feel like I'm loved even on the days I'm quiet, tired, distant, not at my best. Because real love doesn't just enjoy you when you're easy. It stays steady when you're human. And I think that's what scares me, the possibility that I'm loved for what I provide, not for who I am, loved for my stability, loved for my patience, loved for my understanding, but not deeply studied, not emotionally prioritized, not carefully handled. And if I'm being honest, I don't want half love. I don't want to be someone's comfort without being their commitment. I don't want to be someone's peace without being their priority. So yeah, sometimes I sit with that quiet question. Am I actually loved, or am I just really good at loving others? The hardest part about questioning love is that it doesn't always come from obvious neglect, doesn't always come from cheating or lying or someone clearly mistreating you. Sometimes it comes from subtle absence, from emotional gaps you can't quite explain, from feeling like you're standing next to someone but not fully with them. Because love isn't just about presence, it's about engagement. It's about whether someone studies you the way you study them. I ask myself things like, if I stopped initiating, how long would it take for them to notice? If I didn't send the good morning text, would they send one first? If I went quiet for a few days, would they check in because they care or because they're bored? And I hate that those thoughts even exist, because when love feels secure, you don't test it in your head, you don't calculate effort, you don't keep mental score, you just exist inside it peacefully. But when love feels uneven, your brain starts tracking patterns. Who apologizes first? Who makes more time? Who adjusts more? And that's when the doubt begins. Not loud doubt, quiet doubt. The kind that sits in your chest at night. The kind that makes you reread conversations. The kind that makes you wonder if you're asking for too much or just asking the wrong person. I don't want dramatic love. I don't want obsession. I don't want someone who can't function without me. I want someone who chooses me consciously, daily, not because I'm easy, not because I'm stable, not because I don't cause problems, but because they genuinely value me, because they care about my internal world, because they don't want to risk losing me through laziness or emotional distance. That's the difference. You can love someone and still be careless. You can love someone and still take them for granted. You can love someone and still assume they'll never leave. But being loved properly, that feels intentional. It feels protected. It feels like someone is actively maintaining the connection, not just enjoying it. And sometimes I wonder, if I pulled my energy back to neutral, if I stopped overcompensating, if I loved at the same level I was receiving, would it still feel strong? Or would everything start crumbling? Because if my effort is what's holding us up, that's not love, that's imbalance disguised as loyalty. And I don't want to resent someone for something I never addressed, but I also don't want to keep shrinking just to avoid conflict. I want to feel wanted loudly enough that I don't question it silently. I want to feel secure enough that I don't rehearse conversations in my head. I want to feel chosen in a way that removes doubt instead of feeding it, because love shouldn't feel like something you constantly measure. It should feel like something you rest inside, and until I can sit in it, without wondering if I matter the same way, I think that question will always echo softly. Am I actually loved, or am I just deeply loving? I think what makes this question heavy is that I don't doubt your feelings. I doubt your effort because feelings are invisible. Effort isn't. You can tell me you love me, you can say it in the right tone, you can even mean it. But love that isn't maintained eventually feels like memory, and I don't want to live off potential. I don't want to survive off they care, they're just bad at showing it. Because if I can show it, if I can adjust, if I can communicate clearly, why does it feel like I'm the one stretching more? That's where the exhaustion comes in, not from loving you, from overcompensating for the space you leave. There's a specific loneliness that comes when you're the emotionally aware one, when you're the one who brings things up calmly, when you're the one who says, let's talk about it, when you're the one who makes sure small issues don't become big ones. And sometimes I wonder, if I stopped being that person, would you step into that role? Or would we slowly drift because I stopped carrying the emotional weight? That's not partnership, that's imbalance. And imbalance slowly turns love into doubt. I don't need perfection, I need reciprocity. I need to feel like if I fall apart, you won't just watch. I need to feel like if I go quiet, you'll notice. I need to feel like if I stop being strong for a moment, you won't become distant. Because love isn't just about who stays when it's easy. It's about who leans in when things feel uncomfortable. And sometimes I don't feel leaned into, I feel leaned on. And there's a difference. I don't want to be your emotional safety net without you being mine. I don't want to be the consistent one while wondering if I'm consistently valued. And maybe you do love me, but if I constantly have to question it, then something about the way it's being expressed isn't landing. Because real love doesn't eliminate all fear, but it does eliminate constant uncertainty. It doesn't make you feel like you're negotiating your worth. It makes you feel secure enough to stop asking yourself if you matter. And until I can sit in this without quietly measuring effort, without wondering if I'm too much, without shrinking my needs to maintain peace, that question will stay in the back of my mind. Am I actually loved, or am I just deeply convenient? I think the real fear isn't that you don't love me, it's that you love me comfortably. There's a difference. Comfortable love is quiet. It assumes, it relaxes a little too much. It stops trying as hard because it believes I'm not going anywhere. And maybe I won't, but that doesn't mean I don't notice the shift. In the beginning, effort feels automatic. You call just to hear my voice. You ask questions and actually wait for the answers. You care about how my day went, not just what happened. But once things feel stable, do you still pursue me? Do you still choose me loudly? Do you still protect the connection like it could be lost? Or do you just exist in it? Because love that stops being intentional slowly starts feeling optional. And I don't want to feel optional in someone's life. I don't want to be the person you assume will always understand, the person you assume won't leave, the person you assume doesn't need reassurance, because the strong ones still need softness, the independent ones still need consistency, the calm ones still need effort, and sometimes I think people forget that. They mistake my patience for infinite tolerance. They mistake my understanding for emotional immunity. They mistake my loyalty for permanence. But even loyal people get tired. Even understanding people feel hurt. Even calm people question things when the effort changes. I don't want to be loved lazily. I don't want to be loved based on convenience. I want to be loved actively. I want someone who doesn't just assume I know they care, but make sure I feel it. Someone who doesn't just stay, but stays with intention. Because here's the truth, if I ever stopped trying the way I do now, would you fight for this the same way? If I ever pulled my energy back to neutral, would you step up or would you get distant? That question alone tells me a lot. Love shouldn't feel like something I'm maintaining by myself. It shouldn't feel like if I relax for a second, everything will slowly fade. It should feel mutual, balanced, protected from both sides. And until I feel that consistently, not just in moments, not just after conflict, not just when I express doubt, that quiet thought will linger. Am I loved deeply or just comfortably? Maybe the hardest part about all of this is that I don't want to accuse you. I don't want to sound ungrateful. I I don't want to seem insecure. I don't want to turn something small into something heavy. But silence builds pressure, and pressure turns into quiet resentment, because when I feel like I'm giving more than I'm receiving, I don't explode, I adjust. I overthink, I analyze, I start loving more carefully, and that's when something shifts inside me. I stop being soft in the same way, I stop opening up as freely, I stop expressing needs because I don't want to feel like a burden. And you probably wouldn't even notice at first, because I don't change loudly, I change subtly. And that's the scary part, because once I start protecting myself emotionally, I don't fully come back the same. I don't want to have to guard my heart with someone who says they love me. I don't want to measure my words. I don't want to calculate how much reassurance I can ask for without seeming too much. I want to exist freely. But freedom only comes when love feels secure, not intense, not obsessive, secure. The kind of secure where I don't have to question your effort after a disagreement. The kind of secure where your consistency doesn't depend on my mood. The kind of secure where I don't feel like I have to earn softness from you. Because love shouldn't feel conditional. It shouldn't spike when I'm easy to love and dip when I need extra understanding. And sometimes I ask myself something deeper. If I disappeared tomorrow, would you miss me because you love me? Or because you lost something that benefited you? Would you miss my heart? Or just my stability? Would you miss the way I cared, or just the fact that I cared consistently? That difference matters more than people realize, because I don't want to be someone's comfort zone if I'm not also their conscious choice. I don't want to be someone's safe option if I'm not also their priority. And I don't want to keep pouring into something where I feel like I'm the emotional backbone. Love should feel like two people holding it up, not one person carrying it quietly. And until I feel that weight shared, I'll keep asking myself softly, am I actually loved, or am I just deeply dependable? I think what I've realized is this: if I constantly have to ask myself whether I'm loved, then something inside me doesn't feel safe, because real love doesn't require constant decoding. It doesn't make you sit alone at night replaying conversations. It doesn't make you question your worth after small disagreements. It doesn't make you shrink just to maintain peace. Real love feels steady, not perfect, not dramatic, steady. It feels like someone who chooses you, even when you're not at your best. It feels like someone who reassures without being forced. It feels like someone who protects your heart, like it's their responsibility too. And maybe you do love me, but if your love makes me anxious, if it makes me overanalyze, if it makes me feel like I'm asking for too much when I ask for consistency, then it's not landing the way love should, because love shouldn't make you question your value. It should reinforce it. It shouldn't make you feel like you're lucky to be chosen. It should make you feel mutually chosen. Maybe the real shift isn't asking, am I actually loved? Maybe it's asking, do I feel secure here? Do I feel prioritized? Do I feel emotionally safe? Because love isn't just something someone says. It's something you experience repeatedly. It's in the tone, the effort, the consistency after comfort sets in, the way someone handles you when you're difficult, not just when you're easy. And if I'm honest, I don't want intense love. I don't want dramatic love. I don't want love that feels like a roller coaster. I want love that makes me stop asking this question entirely. Love that's so clear, so intentional, so consistent that doubt doesn't have room to grow. Because if I'm constantly wondering whether I'm loved, then maybe I'm not asking for too much. Maybe I just haven't experienced love that makes the answer obvious. And when I do, I won't have to ask. I'll know. It feels like I'm bothering you. And the worst part is I can't tell if it's all in my head or if I'm finally seeing the truth for what it is. I notice the little things, the shorter replies, the dry yeah and okays, the way your tone shifts like you're answering out of obligation, not interest. It's like my name used to mean something to you, and now it's just another notification you swipe away without thinking twice. And I feel it. in the pauses, in the gaps between our conversations, in how you don't ask questions anymore, how you don't match my energy the way you used to. It's like I'm slowly becoming someone you tolerate instead of someone you genuinely want in your life. I hate admitting how much it affects me, how I reread your messages trying to see if I said something wrong, how I rewrite text after text just to make sure I don't come off too much, how I check my phone way more than I should, hoping maybe this time you'll sound like you actually want to talk to me again. And it messes with my head because I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be the person you sigh at before you reply with something short and dry, but I care, maybe more than I should, maybe more than you ever did. I keep reaching out even when everything inside me says I shouldn't, not because I'm desperate for attention, but because I genuinely don't want you to feel like I disappeared. I don't want you thinking I stopped caring. I don't want to lose someone who once felt impossible to lose. But the truth is, silence scares me. Silence feels permanent. Silence feels like you already made your decision and just haven't said it out loud. And I'm stuck here trying to pretend I don't feel the distance growing every single day. Maybe I'm overthinking. I hope I am, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm finally noticing the signs I tried so hard to ignore. And even then, even with all this anxiety, all this confusion, all this fear of being unwanted, I still check on you. I still message you. I still care in a way that makes me feel stupid sometimes. But the truth is simple. I don't reach out to bother you. I reach out because you matter to me in a way I don't know how to hide. You were never an inconvenience in my life. I just hoped I wasn't one in yours. I just wanted to matter to you. Even a little, even for a moment. Sometimes I feel like love just isn't meant for me. Not in a dramatic way, not in a woe is me way, just quietly, like I've watched it find everyone else and somehow keep missing me. I've done the work, I've tried to heal, I've tried to be patient, I've tried to love right, and still, nothing sticks. People come close, but never close enough to stay. They show interest, but never intention. I'm always almost chosen, almost loved, almost enough. And after a while, you stop asking what's wrong with them and start asking what's wrong with you. You start wondering if maybe you're just built differently, if maybe you feel too deeply for a world that loves lightly. I don't think love avoids me because I'm unlovable. I think it avoids me because I don't fit into how people love now. I don't do casual well. I don't know how to care halfway. I don't know how to pretend I wouldn't be hurt if it ended. And that makes people uncomfortable. They like the idea of me. They like the attention. They like being wanted. But when it comes time to choose, to commit, to stay, they hesitate. So I end up alone again. Not because I didn't try, but because I refuse to chase what doesn't choose me back. And that's the part no one talks about. Sometimes loving yourself means accepting that love might take longer to find you, or worse, that it might not come at all. And that's a scary thought because I don't want much. I don't want perfection. I don't want fantasy. I just want someone who stays, someone who doesn't get overwhelmed by sincerity, someone who doesn't confuse depth with pressure. But the longer time passes, the quieter that hope gets. Not gone, just tired. I don't hate love. I don't resent it. I'm just starting to wonder if it has a place for me, and if it doesn't, I guess I'll have to learn how to live a full life without it. Not because I stopped believing, but because believing started to hurt more than letting go. It's not even the loneliness that gets me anymore, it's the pattern. How people come into my life with energy and leave with excuses. How they swear they like me, but never enough to stay consistent. Never enough to choose me when it's not convenient. Never enough to make me feel secure. And I'm tired of hearing the same lines in different voices. I'm not ready. I'm focusing on myself. You deserve better. And maybe I do. But why does better never turn into someone who stays? At some point you stop feeling unlucky and start feeling singled out. Like love has an address and somehow it keeps getting my name wrong. I watch people get loved loudly, chosen publicly, protected without asking, and me? I get almost commitment, almost consistency, almost somebody's favorite, and that almost does something to you. It makes you question your personality, your looks, your worth, your timing. Like if you could just fix one thing, love would finally land. But then the quiet truth hits. Love isn't avoiding me because I'm impossible to love. It's avoiding me because I don't accept half love anymore. And that scares people because I don't want casual comfort. I want real intention. I want someone who doesn't disappear when it gets deep, someone who doesn't treat effort like a favor, someone who doesn't love me in waves. And if that kind of love doesn't exist for me, then I guess the hardest thing I'll ever do is stop waiting for it to show up. Not because I'm bitter, because I'm tired. After a while, you stop getting excited when someone new shows up. Not because you don't want love, but because you don't trust it to stay. So you hold back without meaning to. You don't open all the way. You don't imagine futures anymore. You don't let yourself get attached too fast, because every time you did before, it ended the same way. Distance, silence, someone slowly pulling away while pretending nothing changed. So now you detach early. Not out of coldness, out of self-defense. You start preparing for the ending before the beginning even settles. You keep one foot out the door because history taught you that staying hopeful hurts more. And the worst part, people feel that. They sense your hesitation, your guardedness, your quiet expectation that this won't last, and they match it. They don't go all in, they don't invest deeply, they keep things light, flexible, undefined, which only confirms what you already believed. Love doesn't choose you fully, so the cycle repeats. You expect love to leave. Love senses you're bracing, no one commits, everyone walks away, and you're left wondering if love avoids you, or if you've learned not to trust it enough to let it stay. That's the cruel part. You didn't become distant because you don't care. You became distant because you cared, and it kept costing you. So now you protect yourself by expecting less, and every time love passes you by, it reinforces the same quiet thought. Maybe love isn't meant to find me. Maybe it's meant to pass through. Eventually, hope stops hurting loudly. It just fades. You don't cry about love anymore. You don't rant about it. You don't even talk about it much. You just stop expecting it. You start telling yourself that maybe love is for other people. People who are easier, people who don't feel as deeply, people who fit better into how relationships work now. And that belief settles in quietly. You still show up. You still try when someone new comes around. But there's a ceiling now. You don't let yourself dream past the present. You don't imagine forever. You don't let excitement get too loud. Because disappointment trained you, you learned that getting your hopes up only makes the fall harder. So you keep them low, manageable, contained. People think you're calm, they think you're chill, they think you're emotionally mature, but really you're just tired of believing in something that keeps proving you wrong. You start romanticizing independence, telling yourself you don't need love anyway, that you're better off alone, that attachment is overrated, and maybe part of that is true. But another part of you still aches when you see people chosen easily, loved openly, protected without asking. You don't envy them. You just wonder why it never seems to be you. And the scariest thought creeps in, what if this isn't a phase? What if this isn't healing? What if this is just acceptance? Acceptance that love won't find you no matter how patient you are, no matter how much you grow, no matter how carefully you love. So you make peace with the idea that maybe love isn't your story, and that peace feels less like relief and more like surrender. At some point, you stop chasing love altogether. Not in a dramatic, I'm done with love way, but in a quiet, tired way. You stop looking for it in rooms, stop expecting it in conversations, stop wondering if this person might finally be different. You still show up, you still talk, you still connect, but the hunger is gone. Not because you're fulfilled, but because you're exhausted. You've wanted love for so long that wanting it started to feel embarrassing. Like asking for something that clearly wasn't meant to be yours. So you replace longing with numbness. You tell yourself you're fine, that you don't need anyone, that independence is better anyway. And some days you believe it, but other days it feels like you've just buried something alive. You don't get butterflies anymore. You don't get excited about potential. You don't let yourself feel anticipation. because anticipation has disappointed you too many times. People mistake this version of you for healed. They say you're strong, they say you're grounded, they say you've matured, but what they don't see is how much of that softness you had to shut down to survive. You didn't stop wanting love because you outgrew it. You stopped because wanting it started to hurt too much. And now you're in this strange in-between place. Not heartbroken, not hopeful, just waiting without believing. And the thought that scares you the most isn't being alone. I was wondering if you've waited so long that even if love did find you now, you wouldn't know how to let it in. Sometimes the thought hits you that maybe love did try to find you before, and that's harder to sit with than believing it never came at all, because then you have to ask yourself if you were too hurt to see it, too guarded to trust it, too used to disappointment to believe something good could last. You replay moments differently now. People who tried to get close, but you kept at arm's length. Connections you didn't fully invest in because you were already bracing for the end. Not because they were bad, but because you were tired. Tired of hoping, tired of opening up, tired of being the one who cared more. So you stayed cautious, you stayed reserved, you stayed prepared to lose, and maybe that protection kept you safe, but it also kept you distant. That realization stings because it means love wasn't always the one that failed to show up. Sometimes it showed up quietly and you were too wounded to let it stay. But even knowing that, you don't blame yourself. You were doing what you knew how to do to survive repeated disappointment. You weren't cold, you weren't careless, you were scared. Scared to believe again and have it fall apart like it always did. So you chose control over vulnerability, distance over hope, certainty over possibility. And now you're left wondering if love will ever feel safe enough again to recognize when it's real. That question lingers, not loudly, not urgently, just quietly in the back of your mind. At some point, fear quietly replaces hope, not all at once, not dramatically, just slowly. You stop expecting good things to last. You stop trusting excitement. You stop letting yourself believe that something real could finally choose you. So you protect your heart. At first, it feels smart, responsible, like growth. You don't overshare. You don't get attached too fast. You don't let people see how much you care. But over time, protection turns into distance. You're not just guarding against pain anymore. You're guarding against connection. You start filtering yourself, keeping conversations surface level, holding back emotions before they even have a chance to exist. And people feel that. They don't push deeper, they don't try harder. They assume you're not that interested, which feeds the same belief again. Love doesn't choose you. But what's really happening is that fear is deciding for you. Fear is telling you it's safer not to hope, safer not to want too much, safer not to open the door all the way. Because every time you opened it before, something left. So now you keep it cracked, just enough to say you tried, never enough to risk getting hurt again. And that's the quiet tragedy of it. You didn't stop believing in love because you don't care. You stopped because caring started to feel dangerous, and the longer fear sits in the driver's seat, the harder it becomes to remember what hope even felt like. Eventually you start telling yourself you're better off alone, not because you don't want love, but because wanting it feels pointless. You say things like, I'm used to being by myself, I don't need anyone, I'm fine the way I am. And part of that is true. You're strong on your own. You have learned how to survive without being chosen. You can build a life that doesn't depend on someone staying. But there's another part you don't talk about. The part that still wants to be seen. The part that still wants someone to stay without being asked. The part that wonders what it would feel like to finally be someone's first choice. So you compromise with yourself. You don't hope, but you don't fully let go either. You live in this middle space where love is something other people get, and you quietly prepare for a life without it. You stop imagining shared futures. You stop picturing growing old with someone. You plan your life around independence because that's the only constant you trust. And people admire you for it. They call you self-sufficient. They say you're unbothered. They think you're healed. But healing isn't supposed to feel like convincing yourself you don't want something you still ache for. You didn't choose solitude because it fulfilled you. You chose it because disappointment taught you not to expect more. And the scariest part, the longer you live like this, the more normal it feels. Love stops feeling like something missing and starts feeling like something unrealistic. And that's when you wonder if love didn't avoid you at all, if you just slowly stopped believing you were allowed to have it. The truth is, you never stopped wanting love, you just stopped admitting it. You tell yourself you're fine alone, that you've outgrown the need for romance, that you're focused on yourself now. But late at night, when everything's quiet, that truth shows up. You still imagine being chosen, still wonder what it would feel like to be someone's safe place, still crave a love that doesn't hesitate. You just don't say it out loud anymore. Because admitting you still want love feels dangerous. It feels like setting yourself up for disappointment again. Like reopening a door you worked so hard to close, so you downplay it, you joke about it, you bury it under independence and self-control. But wanting love never made you weak. Being hurt just taught you to hide that want better. You learned how to survive without being chosen. But survival was never the same as fulfillment, and deep down you know the difference. You didn't stop believing in love because you healed. You stopped because believing started to feel like self-betrayal, like hoping for something that never came was making a fool of you. So you chose silence instead. But that silence doesn't mean you're done wanting love, it just means you're tired of wanting it alone. At some point, you have to face the question you've been avoiding this whole time. Is love really done with you, or are you done believing in it? Because the truth is, love didn't disappear overnight. It faded every time you were disappointed, every time someone almost chose you, every time you opened up and watched it fall apart again. Eventually, believing started to feel stupid, like hoping for something that clearly wasn't meant for you. So you stopped. Not because you stopped wanting love, but because you couldn't handle wanting it alone anymore. You told yourself this is just how life turned out, that some people get love and others learn how to live without it, and maybe that belief protected you. It kept you from more heartbreak, more waiting, more letting yourself down, but it also cost you something. It cost you the ability to imagine a future that includes being chosen. It cost you the courage to believe something good could stay. So now you stand here, not hopeless, not hopeful, just tired of wondering, tired of preparing for disappointment, tired of asking why love keeps missing you. And maybe the hardest truth is this: love didn't stop trying to find you. You just stopped leaving the door open, not because you're broken, not because you're unlovable, but because getting your hopes up hurt more than letting them go. And whether love ever finds you or not, one thing is clear now. You didn't lose because you loved too much. You lost because loving started to feel unsafe. So if love ever does come again, it won't be loud, it won't rush you, it won't demand you believe right away. It'll wait. And the real question won't be whether love finds you. It'll be whether you're willing to believe again when it does. I didn't realize it at first, but she was keeping me around just in case things didn't work out with someone else, just in case she got bored, just in case she needed someone who would always answer. And the worst part, I thought I was actually important to her, because she would still text me, still check in, still have those moments where it felt like we had something real. So I stayed, because when someone doesn't fully leave, it gives you hope, and hope is dangerous when it's built on inconsistency. There would be days where she talked to me like I was the only person that mattered, then days where it felt like I didn't exist. And every time she came back, I told myself the same thing. Maybe this time it's real, but now I see it clearly. I wasn't her priority. I was her backup plan. The confusing part about being someone's just in case is that it doesn't feel obvious, it doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like almost consistent, almost real, almost something worth holding on to, because she never fully disappeared. She would come back, random messages, random conversations, random moments where it felt like everything was normal again. And every time that happened, it reset everything in my head. It made me forget the distance, forget the inconsistency, forget the fact that I only heard from her when it was convenient, because those moments felt real. And when something feels real, you don't question it, you lean into it. But what I didn't realize was this: she wasn't coming back because she chose me. She was coming back because she needed something: attention, comfort, familiarity, and I was always there to give it. That's what kept me in the cycle, because I wasn't being rejected, I was being reused. The more I looked at it honestly, the more the pattern became clear. I wasn't part of her life consistently. I was part of her life conveniently. She would show up when things felt off for her, when she needed someone to talk to, when she needed to feel like someone still cared. And every time I was there, not questioning it, not hesitating, just showing up the same way I always did. Because in my head, I thought consistency would eventually turn into something real. I thought if I stayed long enough, showed enough, proved enough, she would finally choose me. But now I see it differently. I wasn't building something with her. I was maintaining a position she never fully committed to, and that's the hardest part. Realizing you were giving real effort to something that was never real in the same way. There's something subtle about being kept just in case. It doesn't destroy you all at once, it slowly drains you, because you're always in between, not fully chosen, not fully let go, just there. And that in-between space is confusing, because you don't know how to act. Do you pull back? Do you stay consistent? Do you treat it like something serious or something temporary? So you end up doing what I did. You stay, you give, you hope. Because every time she came back, it felt like confirmation that I still mattered. But what I didn't understand was this: being remembered isn't the same as being chosen. Just because someone comes back to you doesn't mean they value you the way you think they do. Sometimes it just means you're available. The turning point for me wasn't when she left. It was when I started paying attention to when she came back. Because it was never random. It was always when something else in her life wasn't working, when she felt bored, when she felt alone, when she needed someone to fill that gap. That's when I would hear from her again. And at first I didn't connect those dots. I just saw it as her coming back. But once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. You realize you're not part of her routine. You're part of her fallback. And that changes everything. Because now it's not about misunderstanding the connection. It's about understanding your position in it. And my position was never first, never consistent, just there when she needed me. Once I accepted that, the situation stopped feeling confusing and started feeling clear. Painful, but clear, because now I understood why the connection never felt stable, why I was always questioning things, why it felt like I was holding on to something that kept slipping. It wasn't because I wasn't doing enough, it was because she was never fully in. You can't build something stable with someone who only shows up part-time. You can't create consistency with someone who treats you like an option. And I was trying to turn something temporary into something permanent. That's why it never worked. For a while I blamed myself. I thought maybe if I had pulled back sooner, maybe if I acted less available, maybe if I made her miss me more, things would have been different. But the truth is, people who see you as just in case don't suddenly turn you into a priority. They just adjust how often they come back. That's it. And once I understood that, I stopped trying to change how she saw me, because the problem wasn't what I was doing, it was how she valued me. And you can't force someone to value you correctly. That's when I had to be honest with myself. I wasn't stuck because of her. I was stuck because I kept accepting that position. I kept answering, kept showing up, kept giving her access to me whenever she decided to come back. And every time I did that, I reinforced the same thing, that I would always be there no matter how inconsistent she was. And once you allow that pattern, it becomes the expectation, not the exception. So the real shift didn't come from her changing. It came from me realizing I had to stop participating in it. Walking away from that wasn't easy. because when you've been someone's just in case for a while, it starts to feel normal. You get used to the cycle, the ups, the silence, the return, and breaking that cycle means facing something uncomfortable, that the connection you thought you had was never what you believed it was. But once you step out of it, you start seeing clearly again. You start realizing how much energy you were giving to something that wasn't giving you the same in return, and that clarity changes everything. So yeah, she kept me around just in case, and for a while I stayed because I thought being there meant something, but now I understand the difference. Being someone's option isn't the same as being someone's choice. The right person doesn't keep you on standby. They don't come and go. They don't leave you guessing about where you stand. They choose you, clearly, consistently, without hesitation. And next time, I won't stay in a position where I feel like I'm waiting to be picked, because I'm not here to be someone's just in case. I'm here to be someone's only choice. I know hopeless romantic sounds naive to some people, like it means you don't understand how the world works, but that's not true. A hopeless romantic isn't someone who ignores reality. It's someone who sees it clearly and still chooses love anyway. It's knowing how badly love can hurt and still believing it's worth it. I don't believe in love because I think it's easy. I believe in it because I know how rare it is when it's real. Being a hopeless romantic means you don't just want someone, you want connection. You want the kind of love where attention doesn't wander, where effort isn't forced, where choosing each other feels natural, not strategic. You want late night talks that don't feel rushed, silence that feels comfortable, inside jokes no one else understands. You want to build a world with one person and let the rest fade into the background. And yeah, you know the risk. You know love can leave scars. You know it can change you. You know it can take pieces of you that don't come back the same. But being a hopeless romantic means you'd rather feel deeply than live safely. You don't want love that's casual. You don't want to act detached. You don't want to pretend you wouldn't be devastated to lose someone you care about. You want to care. You want to choose someone fully and mean it. No exits, no backups, no pretending you're less invested than you are. And that's what makes it hard sometimes, because the world rewards indifference. It praises being unbothered. It treats emotional distance like maturity. So when you show up soft, present, intentional, people call you too much, but you're not too much. You're just not built for shallow love. A hopeless romantic doesn't love this way because they're weak. They love this way because they're brave enough to risk being hurt for something that actually matters. You're not chasing a fantasy. You're chasing alignment, the kind of love that feels steady, not chaotic, intense but safe, deep but mutual. And even if it takes longer, even if you have to wait, even if you get hurt along the way, you don't regret loving like this, because a life without love feels smaller than a life with heartbreak. So no, you won't grow out of it. You won't harden. You won't stop wanting something real. You're a hopeless romantic because you refuse to let the world convince you that love should be shallow, casual, or disposable. And one day, someone will meet you in that same place. They won't laugh at your softness. They won't flinch at your depth. They won't ask you to tone it down. They'll recognize it, and that's when you'll realize you were never hopeless. You were just holding out for something worth believing in. Being a hopeless romantic doesn't mean you believe love will save you. It means you believe it's worth showing up for. It means you don't enter connections casually. You don't date out of boredom. You don't give your heart halfway just to say you tried. When you love, you mean it. You pay attention. You remember small things. You imagine futures without realizing you're doing it. Not because you're delusional, but because that's how your mind works. You see potential where others see risk, and you know that scares people. Some people love with limits, with conditions, with an exit already planned. You don't. You love with the intention to stay. If it's right, That's why breakups hit you harder. That's why disappointment lingers longer. That's why you take time to heal. Because when you commit emotionally, you don't do it lightly. People tell you to protect your heart, to be less invested, to stop giving so much, but they don't understand. Loving deeply isn't something you can switch off. It's how you experience the world. You feel things fully. Music hits harder, memories stick longer, connection means more. And yes, that makes life heavier sometimes, but it also makes it meaningful. You don't want love that feels replaceable. You don't want someone who treats you like an option among many. You want to be chosen the same way you choose, intentionally, fully, without hesitation. And until that exists, you'd rather be alone than half present in something shallow. That's the part people miss. A hopeless romantic isn't desperate for love, they're selective. They'd rather wait than cheapen the way they love just to fit in. So when you say you're a hopeless romantic, what you really mean is, you still believe connection matters, you still believe loyalty is rare, you still believe love should feel like home, not like a negotiation. And even after heartbreak, after disappointment, after learning how badly love can hurt, you don't shut down, you slow down, you heal, you keep your heart intact, because the world already has enough people who don't care. What it doesn't have enough of are people willing to love honestly without pretending it's easy. And that's not weakness, that's conviction. Being a hopeless romantic isn't about expecting perfection. It's about refusing to treat love like something disposable. It's knowing that connection is rare and not watering it down just to seem unaffected. You don't fall for people easily, but when you do, it's intentional. You don't love out of loneliness, you love out of recognition. There's a moment where you see someone, not just who they are, but who they could be with you, and something in you locks in, not obsession, not fantasy, commitment, and that's where people misunderstand you. They think you're idealizing, they think you're rushing, they think you're setting yourself up to get hurt, but what they don't see is how much restraint it takes to love like this in a world that treats feelings like liabilities. You know how badly it can go. You've felt the disappointment, the silence, the slow realization that someone didn't choose you the way you chose them, and still, you don't turn cold, you don't reduce love to strategy, you don't keep score, you don't enter connections with a backup plan. Because loving halfway feels worse to you than losing someone you loved fully. You want the kind of love that's unmistakable, where effort doesn't fluctuate, where intentions don't need decoding, where loyalty isn't treated like something rare or surprising. You want love that's steady, not loud, not chaotic, not anxiety disguised as excitement, just real. And yes, that means you get hurt deeper, because when you love, you're all the way in. You don't protect yourself by caring less. You protect yourself by choosing carefully. That's the difference. A hopeless romantic isn't reckless. They're discerning. They'd rather be alone than share space with someone who makes them feel like they're asking for too much just by wanting honesty, effort, and presence. And if that means waiting longer, so be it. Because you're not waiting for attention. You're waiting for alignment. For someone who doesn't flinch at your depth, who doesn't joke about your softness, who doesn't need you to tone it down to make things easier. Someone who sees the way you love and says, good, I do too. So no, you won't stop being a hopeless romantic, not because you haven't learned, but because you've learned exactly what it costs, and you've decided it's still worth it. Being a hopeless romantic means you don't know how to love a little. You either feel it or you don't. And when you feel it, it changes the way you move. You start noticing the small things, the way someone texts you when they're busy, the way they remember what you said weeks ago, the way they look at you when you're not trying, and you don't call that doing too much, you call that real. But the world tries to train that out of you. It tells you to be chill, to act like you don't care, to keep your feelings locked up until someone earns them. So you try to play that role, you try to be distant, try to be casual, try to treat love like it's just another thing, and it never works, because that's not who you are. You don't want a connection where you're constantly guessing. You don't want to be with someone who makes loyalty feel rare. You don't want a love that only shows up when it's convenient. You want the kind of love that feels chosen, not maybe, not we'll see, not I'm not sure, chosen. And sometimes that's what makes it lonely, because you keep meeting people who like the attention, but don't respect the intention. People who love the way you make them feel but don't want to carry the responsibility of caring back, so you end up doing the hardest thing for someone like you. You walk away, not because you stopped loving, but because you finally realized love shouldn't require you to beg for consistency. A hopeless romantic doesn't stay where they're confused. They don't keep giving their heart to someone who treats it like something optional. They'd rather be alone than feel lonely next to someone, and that's not weakness, that's standards. Because if you love deeply, you have to protect that depth, not by becoming cold, but by becoming honest about what you need, and what you need is simple: presence, effort, loyalty, clarity. The kind of love that doesn't make you question yourself for wanting something real. What hurts the most as a hopeless romantic isn't rejection. It's realizing someone enjoyed being loved by you, but never intended to love you the same way. They liked the attention, the consistency, the way you showed up without hesitation, but when it came time to match that energy, to choose you with the same certainty, they hesitated, and that hesitation sticks with you because you don't love casually, you don't give pieces of yourself without meaning to. So when someone accepts your love without offering clarity in return, it feels like betrayal, even if they never promised anything. That's the quiet pain of being a hopeless romantic. You assume people love the way you do, with intention, with follow-through, with the understanding that feelings carry weight, and when they don't, you start questioning yourself. Am I asking for too much? Am I moving too fast? Am I wrong for wanting something solid? But the truth is, you weren't wrong. You were just loving someone who didn't have the same capacity. Some people like being cared for more than they like caring back. They want the benefits of your depth without the responsibility of meeting it, and learning that forces you to grow. Not by loving less, but by loving smarter. You start paying attention to actions, to consistency, to whether someone shows up when it's easy and when it's inconvenient. You stop pouring into people who only give when it suits them, not because you've become colder, but because you've learned your heart isn't something everyone deserves access to. Being a hopeless romantic doesn't mean you accept crumbs. It means you believe in love enough to walk away when it's not being returned honestly. And that's the part people don't see. Your softness comes with strength. Your depth comes with discernment. Because loving deeply also means knowing when to stop. Being a hopeless romantic means waiting doesn't scare you. Settling does. You've seen what happens when people accept love that's almost right. They grow quieter, they grow distant, they start convincing themselves that good enough is enough, and you know that could never be you. You don't want a relationship that slowly drains you. You don't want love that feels like compromise from the very beginning. So you wait, not because you think you're better than anyone else, but because you know yourself. You know how deeply you attach, how fully you commit, how once your heart is in, it doesn't wander. And you also know what happens when that kind of heart ends up in the wrong hands. It gets taken for granted, it gets tested, it gets stretched until it starts hurting more than it should. So patience becomes protection. You don't rush intimacy. You don't force connection. You let people show you who they are before you give them access to who you are. That's not fear, that's wisdom earned the hard way. Some days the waiting feels heavy. You watch people pair off quickly. You hear about relationships that just happened. You wonder if maybe you're overthinking things, but deep down you know the truth. You're not waiting for attention. You're waiting for alignment, for someone who doesn't flinch when things get real, who doesn't pull back when feelings deepen, who doesn't treat commitment like a loss of freedom. You want someone who stays present, who chooses you clearly, who doesn't make you question whether you're asking for too much, because to you, love isn't supposed to feel confusing. It's supposed to feel steady, And until that exists, being alone is still better than being half-loved. That's the quiet strength of being a hopeless romantic. You don't chase, you don't beg, you don't lower your standards just to say you're not alone. You wait, not because you're hopeless, but because you believe the right love won't require you to betray yourself. People like you feel things more intensely, not because you're dramatic, but because you're present. When something matters to you, it doesn't sit quietly in the background, it moves through you, it stays with you. Love doesn't just pass through your life, it marks it. That's why moments linger longer, why memories feel heavier, why connections don't fade easily once they've mattered. And people tell you that's a problem. They say you should care less, detach quicker, move on faster. But they don't understand what intensity really is. Intensity isn't chaos, it isn't instability, it isn't losing control. It's depth. It's the ability to feel joy fully and grief honestly, to experience connection without numbing yourself just to make it easier. You don't skim life, you dive into it. And that's why love feels different to you than it does to most people. You don't forget easily, you don't replace people quickly, you don't treat connection like something interchangeable. When you love, it's intentional. That's why heartbreak hits harder. Because you didn't hold back, you didn't love with conditions, you didn't prepare an exit in advance, you showed up honestly. And while that hurts more in the moment, it also means something important. Nothing about your love was fake. You don't look back wondering if you tried hard enough, if you cared enough, if you were too guarded. You know you gave what you had, and that kind of certainty matters. Intensity becomes a problem only when it's given to the wrong people. With the right person, your depth won't feel overwhelming, it'll feel grounding. They won't ask you to tone it down. They won't joke about you caring too much. They won't treat your feelings like something they need to manage. They'll meet you there, because the truth is the world doesn't need fewer people who feel deeply. It needs more people who aren't afraid to. And being a hopeless romantic means you refuse to apologize for having a heart that actually shows up. At some point, you learn how to guard your heart without becoming guarded. That's a hard balance for someone like you, because you don't want to turn cold. You don't want to love halfway. You don't want to build walls so high that nothing real can get in. But you also know what happens when you give too much, too soon, to someone who doesn't know how to hold it. So you change, not by loving less, but by loving slower. You stop giving access before effort is proven. You stop filling in the gaps when someone shows you inconsistency. You stop romanticizing potential over behavior, and that doesn't feel natural at first, because you're used to leading with your heart, used to giving people the benefit of the doubt, used to assuming good intentions, but experience teaches you something important. Being open doesn't mean being unprotected. You can still be warm without being available to everyone. You can still be deep without drowning in the wrong places, so you watch, you listen, you notice who shows up consistently and who only appears when it's convenient. You let people reveal themselves instead of rushing to explain them, and that's when your love becomes safer, not smaller. You're still a hopeless romantic, you still believe in connection, you still want that kind of love where effort feels mutual and presence feels natural. But now, you don't mistake interest for intention. You don't confuse words with commitment. You don't chase clarity, you wait to see it. And that patience isn't fear, it's respect for yourself, because you finally understand that the right person won't need you to rush your heart to keep them close. They'll move at a pace that protects what you're building together. And when you feel that, you won't have to second guess it. You'll know. There's a phase every hopeless romantic goes through that feels especially isolating. It's the part where you've learned enough to stop choosing the wrong people, but you haven't met the right one yet. So you're not heartbroken anymore. You're not chasing. You're not settling. You're just alone, and people don't understand that version of you. They assume you've become distant, that you've lost interest, that you've changed, but really you've just stopped forcing connection where it doesn't fit. You're not closed off, you're selective, you're not cold, you're careful. You've reached a place where surface level attention doesn't move you anymore. Small talk feels hollow, inconsistent effort feels loud, mixed signals feel exhausting, so you walk away sooner, you disengage faster, you don't explain yourself as much, and that can feel lonely because now you're surrounded by people but not met by anyone. You want depth, you want presence, you want someone who doesn't flinch when emotions enter the room, and until that shows up, nothing else feels worth your heart. This is usually the point where people tell you to lower your standards, to be more flexible, to give someone a chance, but they don't understand what it costs you to love the wrong person. They don't feel the aftermath the way you do, the way it lingers, the way it reshapes you, so you hold your ground, even when it feels quiet, even when it feels like you're the only one still believing in something deeper, because you know this loneliness is different from the loneliness you felt before. Before you were lonely because you were giving your heart to people who couldn't hold it. Now you're lonely because you're protecting it, and that difference matters. This space isn't empty. It's the space right before alignment. The moment right before someone finally sees the way you love and doesn't ask you to soften it. And even though it's hard, even though it tests your patience, you stay here because you know the right love won't arrive while you're busy entertaining the wrong ones. Being a hopeless romantic was never about fantasy. It was about faith. Faith that connection matters, that loyalty still means something, that choosing one person fully isn't outdated, it's intentional. For a long time, you wondered if this way of loving was something you were supposed to grow out of, if heartbreak was meant to harden you, if disappointment was meant to teach you to want less, but it never did. Every time you tried to love casually, it felt wrong. Every time you tried to detach, you felt empty. Because loving deeply was never a habit you picked up, it was part of who you are. You weren't built to love halfway. You weren't meant to treat people like options. You weren't meant to keep one foot out the door just in case. And yes, that made the journey harder. You felt things more intensely. You lost futures you had already imagined. You walked away from people you still cared about because they couldn't meet you where you stood. But none of that was wasted. Every disappointment refined you. Every heartbreak taught you discernment. Every lonely stretch strengthened your standards, not so you'd love less about it and done, but so you'd love right. Now you understand something clearly. Being a hopeless romantic doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you face it and still refuse to settle. You don't want perfect love, you want present love. The kind that doesn't confuse you, the kind that doesn't require self-editing, the kind that chooses you with the same certainty you offer in return. And when that finally arrives, it won't feel overwhelming. It won't feel chaotic. It won't feel like something you have to chase. It'll feel calm, mutual, safe. You won't wonder where you stand. You won't question if you're asking for too much. You won't feel like you're loving harder than you're being loved. And in that moment, everything will make sense. All the waiting, all the walking away, all the times you chose being alone over being half-loved. You weren't too much. You were just ahead of your time in a world that forgot how to love with intention. So no, being a hopeless romantic isn't something you need to fix. It's something you protect, because when the right person finally meets you there, they won't try to change you. They'll recognize you, and you'll realize you were never hopeless at all. You were just holding out for a love that was worthy of you. Being the introvert in the relationship means loving someone who lives louder than you do. They talk easily, they fill rooms, they connect fast, and you listen, you observe. You need quiet to recharge after loving hard. Sometimes it feels like you're standing next to someone who shines effortlessly while you glow quietly. They want to go out, you want to stay in, they gain energy from people, you lose it even when you're happy. And the hardest part is not the difference. It's wondering if your quiet way of loving is enough. Because you don't always say everything, you don't always show excitement loudly, but when you choose someone, you choose them deeply. Being the introvert doesn't mean you love less. It means you love in a way that's calm, steady, and intentional, and sometimes that gets misunderstood. Being with an extrovert means watching them move through the world with ease. They make friends everywhere, they're invited everywhere, people are drawn to them naturally, and sometimes, standing next to that, you wonder where you fit, not because they make you feel small, but because you don't take up space the same way. They thrive in crowds. You count the minutes until you can recharge. They talk things out loud. You process everything internally first, and there are moments where you feel guilty for needing quiet after a long day of loving them. You worry that asking for space sounds like distance, that needing alone time sounds like disinterest, but the truth is, your silence isn't absence. It's how you stay present without burning out. Loving loudly isn't the only way to love deeply, and being quieter doesn't mean you're less committed. It just means your love lives in steadiness, not spotlight. The unspoken fear is that one day you won't be enough, that they'll want more noise, more people, more energy than you can give. You worry they'll mistake your calm for boredom, your need for quiet for distance. You love them deeply but not loudly, and sometimes you wonder if that difference will matter too much. You don't compete for attention, you don't need constant stimulation, you just want connection that feels safe and real. The fear isn't that they'll leave, it's that they'll outgrow you without realizing you were loving them in the only way that feels honest to you. But loving quietly doesn't mean loving less, it means choosing them without the performance. It means staying without needing the room to notice. The right partner won't need you to be louder, they'll need you to be you. Introverts love deeply in ways that aren't always obvious. You remember details, you notice shifts in mood, you feel things before they're said. While they're talking to the room, you're paying attention to them. You're the one who listens after the party ends, the one who creates calm when everything feels loud, the one who offers presence instead of constant stimulation. Your love shows up in consistency, not volume, in choosing the same person again and again, even when it's quiet, even when no one's watching. And often your extroverted partner doesn't realize how much they need that until life gets overwhelming, until they're tired, until the noise fades, until they need someone who knows how to stay still with them. That's when your kind of love becomes the anchor. Not flashy, not loud, just steady. Introverts and extroverts can work beautifully together, but only when both ways of loving are respected. You don't need to become louder to be enough for them, and they don't need to become quieter to be right for you. What matters is understanding that your need for space isn't rejection, that their need for people isn't avoidance. You recharge differently, but you can still meet in the middle. When an extrovert learns that quiet isn't distance, and an introvert learns that excitement isn't chaos, something soft happens. You stop trying to fix each other, you start protecting each other, you give them grounding, they give you expansion, and suddenly, the difference that once felt like a risk becomes the balance that makes the relationship work. Asking for space doesn't mean you love them less. It means you know yourself. Introverts don't pull away to create distance, they pull away to come back whole, but asking for that space can feel heavy. You worry it sounds like rejection. You worry they'll take it personally. You worry needing time alone makes you difficult to love. The right partner won't hear, "I need space," as "I don't want you." They'll hear it as, "I'm taking care of myself so I can show up better." You don't need to apologize for how you recharge. You don't need to explain it every time. Love doesn't require constant closeness to be real. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do for a relationship is step back for a moment, not to disconnect, but to return as yourself. Introverts show love in quiet, steady ways. You remember the little things they forget they mentioned. You notice when their mood shifts before they say anything. You check in without being asked. Your love isn't loud. It's consistent. It's making space for them after a long day. It's choosing them in calm moments, not just exciting ones. It's staying present when things slow down. Sometimes you wish they could see it more clearly. Not because you need praise, but because your love doesn't always announce itself. But the right partner will feel it. They'll feel it in how safe they are with you, in how calm things get around you, in how you stay, even when nothing exciting is happening. Quiet love isn't invisible. it's just not performing. And the people who value depth will always recognize it. It's easy to compare yourself to an extroverted partner, to wonder why you don't light up rooms, why you don't want constant plans, why loving quietly feels like a disadvantage. But your quiet nature isn't something to fix, it's something that brings balance. You offer depth in a world of noise, you offer presence in a world of distraction, you offer steadiness when everything else feels fast. You don't compete for attention, you create connection. And when you stop comparing, something shifts. You stop shrinking next to their energy, you stop questioning your value, you stop feeling like you need to match them to be worthy of love. You realize your calm isn't less than their excitement. It's what gives the relationship somewhere to rest. And the right partner won't ask you to be louder, they'll thank you for being grounding. One of the quiet fears is being replaced by louder energy, by someone more outgoing, more exciting, more effortless in social spaces. You worry that your calm won't be enough forever. But the truth is, people don't stay for volume. They stay for how they feel when everything slows down. An extroverted partner may enjoy attention, but they rest in safety. They recharge in understanding. They stay where they feel accepted without having to perform, and that's where you shine. You offer a place where they don't have to impress anyone, where they can be tired, where they can be real. Loud energy is easy to find, steady presence is not, and the partner who truly values you won't look for replacement. They'll recognize that your quiet way of loving is exactly what makes the relationship feel secure. Being the introvert was never a disadvantage. It just doesn't announce itself. Your love lasts because it isn't fueled by excitement alone. It's built on presence, on listening, on staying when things are quiet and ordinary. You don't love for the room, you love for the person. And that kind of love doesn't fade when the noise does. The right partner won't ask you to be louder, faster, or different. They'll appreciate that with you. Love feels steady instead of overwhelming, safe instead of performative. So if you've ever felt like your quiet nature made you harder to love, it didn't. It made you the place someone can finally rest. And that's not less, that's rare. Loving quietly doesn't mean loving halfway. It means you choose depth over display. You don't need to be the loudest voice in the room to be the most meaningful presence in someone's life. The right partner won't measure love by energy levels. They'll feel it in consistency, in safety, in how calm it feels to be with you. And one day you'll realize something simple. Your quiet wasn't something they had to tolerate. It was the reason they felt at home. I knew it wasn't going to last, not because they said it, not because there were red flags everywhere, but because something in me never fully relaxed. Even in the good moments, there was a quiet voice saying, "Don't get too attached." I enjoyed it. I smiled, I played my part, but deep down, I felt the expiration date, and that's the weirdest kind of heartbreak. When you see the ending while you're still in the middle, sometimes your intuition whispers long before reality confirms it. There weren't major fights, no dramatic betrayals, no obvious reason to leave, but there was inconsistency, little things, energy that shifted slightly, effort that felt uneven, words that didn't fully match actions, and instead of confronting it, I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself to relax, to just enjoy the moment, to stop looking for problems, but intuition doesn't shout. It nudges, it tightens your chest a little, it makes you hesitate before getting attached. It keeps you half guarded even when things seem fine. And I felt that, I just ignored it. Because sometimes we don't want to be right, we want to be wrong about the ending. So why did I stay if I knew? Because sometimes temporary love still feels better than loneliness. Because even if it wasn't forever, it was something. The late night conversations, the inside jokes, the way they looked at me when it was just us. I knew it had cracks, but I also knew it had moments, and I convinced myself that maybe moments were enough. Maybe I didn't need permanence. Maybe I didn't need certainty. Maybe I could just enjoy it without expecting it to stay. But that's the lie we tell ourselves. You can't emotionally invest and pretend you won't feel it when it ends. I stayed because I hoped my intuition would be wrong. I stayed because I liked them, because I wanted it to work, because walking away early felt dramatic, but sometimes staying longer just makes the goodbye heavier. There's a difference between anxiety and intuition. Anxiety is loud, it spirals, it imagines worst-case scenarios, it creates problems that don't exist yet. Intuition is quiet, it doesn't panic, it doesn't overreact, it just knows. And what I felt wasn't panic, it wasn't jealousy, it wasn't insecurity. It was a steady awareness that something wasn't aligned. I didn't feel chosen, I didn't feel secure, I didn't feel like we were building. I felt like we were passing time, and that's how you know. when the connection feels temporary, even while it's happening. Anxiety asks, what if they leave? Intuition says, they're not fully here. And deep down, I knew which one it was. Knowing it won't last doesn't make it hurt less. That's the part nobody tells you. You'd think being mentally prepared would soften the blow. It doesn't, because even if your mind saw the ending, your heart still participated. You still laughed, still opened up, still imagined what if. And when it finally ends, there's no satisfaction in being right. There's no relief in saying, I knew it. There's just grief. Grief for the version of it you hope might surprise you. Grief for the effort you still gave even while doubting. Grief for the potential that never turned into permanence. Knowing doesn't protect you. It just makes you feel like you watched crash in slow motion. And sometimes that's worse. Should I have walked away sooner? Maybe. But it's easy to say that now. When you're in it, you don't see it as wasting time. You see it as giving it a chance. You tell yourself, maybe it just needs more time. Maybe they're just figuring things out. Maybe I'm overthinking. Because walking away early feels extreme. It feels impatient. It feels like you're not fighting hard enough. But sometimes staying longer isn't loyalty. It's fear. Fear of starting over. Fear of being alone again. Fear that this might be the closest thing to love you'll get for a while. So you stay, not because it's right, but because it's comfortable enough. And when it finally ends, you don't just grieve them. You grieve the time you knew better, but here's the thing. You didn't stay because you're weak. You stayed because you hoped, and hope isn't something to be ashamed of. Next time I'll trust it, that quiet feeling, that subtle hesitation, that inner voice that doesn't panic, it just knows. Because ignoring it didn't protect me, it just delayed the inevitable. Next time, I won't wait for proof. I won't wait for the obvious red flag. I won't wait for the dramatic ending. I won't wait until I'm already attached. If something feels temporary, I'll ask why. If something feels uneven, I won't convince myself it's balanced. If someone feels half in, I won't invest fully. Not from a place of fear, from a place of alignment. Because intuition isn't there to ruin good things, it's there to protect you from forcing the wrong ones. And maybe I needed this ending to finally respect my own instincts. Not every connection is meant to last. Some are meant to wake you up to your patterns, to your boundaries, to the things you tolerate when you're lonely. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be forever. Maybe it was supposed to show you what half effort feels like so you'd stop accepting it. Maybe it was supposed to teach you that chemistry isn't compatibility, that attention isn't intention, that potential isn't commitment. Sometimes we meet people who aren't meant to stay. They're meant to reveal. Reveal where you overgive, where you ignore yourself, where you settle for almost, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. So maybe it didn't last because it wasn't designed to build, it was designed to redirect. Endings don't always mean failure, sometimes they mean clarity. We think if something doesn't last forever, it wasn't real, but that's not true. It was real, the feelings were real, the moments were real, it just wasn't permanent. And permanence isn't the only measure of value. Some connections exist to shift you, to sharpen your awareness, to strengthen your boundaries, to remind you what you need and what you'll never accept again. It didn't fail, it finished, and there's a difference. Failure feels like you did something wrong. Finish feels like it served its purpose, and maybe that's what this was. Not a waste, not a mistake, just a chapter that reached its natural end. I used to think knowing it wouldn't last was a weakness, like I was pessimistic, like I was sabotaging it, like I couldn't just enjoy something good. But now I see it differently, that feeling. It was awareness, I wasn't crazy, I wasn't overthinking, I wasn't insecure. I was aligned enough with myself to recognize misalignment, and that's power, because next time I won't silence it, I won't stay longer than I should just to prove I can make something work. I won't ignore the quiet voice just because the moments feel nice. Knowing it wouldn't last didn't mean I didn't care, it meant I could see clearly, and clarity is growth, so no, it didn't last, but I did. I walked away more aware, more grounded, more in tune with myself, and next time, if it's meant to last, I won't have to convince myself of it. I'll feel that too. Being a teenager and going through this, it's different. because it's your first time feeling everything this deeply. The first time you stay up late just to talk to someone. The first time your mood depends on a notification. The first time you actually care if someone stays or leaves, and you don't even realize how much it's affecting you at the time. You just think, this is what it's supposed to feel like, so you give everything. Your time, your attention, your energy. Because to you at that age, you don't know how to control how much you feel. Nobody teaches you that. There's no balance, no take it slow. You just go all in without even realizing it. Because when something feels real for the first time, you don't question it. You don't think about protecting yourself. You don't think about what could go wrong. You don't think about whether the other person feels the same way. You just feel it, and you let it take over everything. Your whole day starts revolving around them. You wake up and check your phone first thing. You wait for their message like it actually means something. You reread conversations like there's something hidden in them. And the craziest part? You don't even notice how deep you're getting. It feels normal. It feels like this is just what liking someone is supposed to be. And when they give you attention, it hits different at that age. Because it's not just attention, it's validation. It's the feeling of being chosen. The feeling that out of everyone, they're picking you to talk to laugh with, to spend time on. And when you haven't felt that before, it becomes everything. That's why you start giving more time, more energy, more of yourself. You stay up later than you should just to talk to them. You ignore other things just to keep the conversation going. You make space for them in your life without even realizing how much space you're giving. And in your head, you think it's mutual. You think they feel it the same way you do. Because why wouldn't they? They're replying. They're talking. They're there. So it must mean something, right? But that's the part nobody tells you when you're younger. Just because someone is there doesn't mean they're there the same way you are. And you don't realize that yet. Not until things start changing. And when things start changing, you don't accept it right away. You feel it, but you don't accept it. Because at that age, your first instinct isn't to walk away, it's to hold on tighter. You start overthinking everything. Why did they reply slower? Why do they seem different? Did I do something wrong? And instead of pulling back, you lean in. You text more. You try harder to keep the conversation alive. You become more available, more understanding, more patient. Because in your head, if something is slipping, you don't let go. You fix it. But what you don't realize is you're the only one trying to fix something. And that's where it starts to hurt. Not all at once, slowly. You start noticing the little things, the way they don't text like they used to, the way conversations feel shorter, the way you're the one carrying most of it now, and it's confusing, because just a little while ago, everything felt easy. So you keep chasing that version, the version of them that made you feel wanted, the version that stayed up late with you, the version that made it feel like you mattered. And every time they show a little bit of that again, it resets everything. You think, okay, it's back. You think maybe it was just a phase. Maybe you were overthinking. Maybe everything is fine. But it never stays. It comes back for a moment, then disappears again. And that's when you start feeling something you've never really felt before. Not just sadness, not just confusion, but the feeling of caring more than someone else. And when that hits you for the first time, at that age, it changes you. That feeling of caring more than someone else, it's something you don't understand the first time it happens. Because in your head, you're thinking, how can I care this much and they don't feel the same? It doesn't make sense. You replay everything. All the conversations, all the late nights, all the moments that felt real, and you start questioning all of it. You wonder if you imagined it, if you read too deep into things, if you made something bigger than it actually was. Because how does something feel that real and still end up one-sided? So you try to fix it, not directly, but in small ways. You change how you text, you try to be more interesting, you try to say the right things, You become more aware of everything you do because now you're trying to hold on to something that's already slipping. And the worst part is, they don't even realize what you're going through. To them, it's just a shift, just a change in how they feel. But to you, it feels like everything is falling apart, because at that age, you don't separate your feelings from your identity. If someone pulls away, you don't just think they changed. You think, what's wrong with me? And that question stays in your head, quietly, in the background, every time they reply late, every time they seem distant, every time you feel like you're trying harder than they are. You start shrinking yourself without noticing, trying to fit into what you think they'll stay for, trying to be enough in a way that makes them come back. But no one tells you this when you're younger. You can't fix someone losing feelings by changing yourself, and that's the part you learn the hard way. That's when it really starts to change you. Not just how you feel about them, but how you start seeing yourself. Because once you feel like you're not enough for someone, that thought doesn't just stay in that situation. It follows you. You start second-guessing everything. The way you talk, the way you act, the way you show up. You think maybe you were too much, too available, too caring, too real. So you start holding back. Not because you want to, but because now you're scared of feeling that same way again. And the crazy part is, they probably don't even realize the impact they had. To them, it was just something that didn't work out, just a phase, just someone they talked to for a while. But to you, it was your first time feeling something real, your first time getting attached like that, your first time learning what it feels like to lose someone emotionally before you even fully had them. And that sticks with you, because now you know what it feels like to give everything and not get it back the same way. So the next time something like that comes around, you're not the same. You hesitate, you think more, you hold back parts of yourself you used to give freely. And that's when your teenage years start teaching you something nobody explains to you directly. Not everyone you feel something real with is meant to stay. After that, you start realizing something you didn't understand before. Not everyone feels things the same way you do. Because in your mind, if something feels real, it should mean something. It should last. It should turn into something more. But reality doesn't always work like that. Someone can talk to you every day, laugh with you, stay up late with you, make you feel like you matter, and still not feel it the same way you do. And that's confusing when you're younger, because you don't understand how something can feel so real and still not be real to them. So you start questioning everything, not just them, but the whole idea of what you felt. You think, was it even real? Did I just imagine it? Did I care more than I should have? But the truth is, it was real, just not equal. And that's a hard lesson to learn that early. Because now you're not just dealing with feelings, you're dealing with imbalance. You start realizing you are the one initiating more, the one caring more, the one thinking about them more, the one building something in your head that they were just experiencing in the moment. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. That's when things shift inside you. Not loudly, but quietly. You stop looking at it like something that ended and start seeing it for what it actually was. Something that meant more to you than it ever did to them. And once that realization settles in, you start changing in ways you don't even notice at first. You're not as quick to open up anymore. You don't say everything on your mind like you used to. You don't give your time as freely, because now you've seen what happens when you do. Not that you don't care anymore, it's that you care differently, more carefully, more guarded. Because before, you didn't think twice about it. If you liked someone, you showed it. If you cared, you gave it fully. No hesitation, no second guessing. But now, there's a pause, a moment where you think, is this even worth it? And that pause comes from experience, from that first time you gave everything and realized it didn't guarantee anything. So now you move smarter, you watch actions more, you notice effort more, you pay attention to how someone shows up, not just what they say. And even though it makes you more aware, there's a small part of you that misses how you used to be. The version of you that didn't overthink. The version that just felt things fully without fear. The version that believed if something felt real, that means something. Because that version of you was pure, unfiltered, real in a way that's hard to get back once it changes. But that's what growing up during those years does to you. It doesn't just give you memories, it gives you awareness. And sometimes that awareness comes from learning things the hard way. After a while, you stop blaming them, and you stop blaming yourself. Because at that age, nobody really knows what they're doing, not fully. They don't know how to handle someone who cares deeply. They don't know how to communicate properly. They don't know how to leave without hurting someone. And you don't know how to protect yourself yet. So everything becomes intense. The good feels really good. The bad feels really bad. There's no balance, just highs and lows. And looking back, you start realizing something important. It wasn't meant to last. It was meant to teach you. It taught you what effort looks like, what inconsistency feels like, what it means to care more than someone else, and most importantly, it taught you what you should never accept again. Because once you've felt that imbalance, you recognize it faster next time. You don't stay as long. You don't ignore the signs as easily. Not because you don't care anymore, but because now you understand your value a little more than you did before. And that's the shift. You're not the same person you were at the start of it. You're more aware, more careful, more intentional. And even though it came from something that hurt, that growth, that stays. And when you look back on it later, you don't just remember the person. You remember the version of you that existed during that time. The version of you that felt everything without holding back. The version of you that stayed up late just to talk to someone. The version of you that gave your time, your energy, your attention without thinking twice about it. And yeah, that version of you got hurt, got confused, got left trying to understand something that didn't make sense. But that doesn't make it a mistake. It makes it real. Because those teenage years, they're not just about what happens. They're about what you learn from it. You learn that not everyone stays. You learn that feelings aren't always equal. You learn that just because something feels real doesn't mean it's meant to last. But you also learn something more important than all of that. You learn how deeply you can care, how real you can be, how much you're capable of giving when you're fully invested in someone. And that's not something to regret, that's something to take with you. Because one day, you'll meet someone who matches that energy, someone who doesn't make you question it. Someone who doesn't make you feel like you're too much or not enough. And when that happens, everything you went through back then will finally make sense. Because those teenage years didn't break you, they built you into someone who knows the difference between something that feels real and something that actually is. I really did love her, not just in the beginning, not just when it was easy. I loved her in the quiet moments, in the normal days, in the in-between. I loved the way she thought, the way she explained things, the way she cared too deeply sometimes. And that's what makes this harder, because it would be easier if I didn't love her, if it was fake, if it was surface level, if it was just attachment, but it wasn't. I loved her, and somehow that still wasn't enough. Love and compatibility aren't always the same thing. That's the part nobody prepares you for. You can love someone deeply and still not align long term. I loved her heart, her mind, her energy, but we handled conflict differently. We needed reassurance differently. We showed up differently under pressure. And love doesn't erase that. It doesn't magically fix timing issues, communication gaps, emotional readiness. You can love someone and still slowly grow apart. You can love someone and still realize you're not building in the same direction. And that doesn't make the love fake, it just makes it human. Loving someone doesn't automatically mean you knew how to love them properly, and that's a hard truth. I loved her the best way I knew how, but sometimes the best I knew wasn't what she needed. She needed reassurance. I gave independence. She needed consistency. I gave effort in waves. She needed clarity. I gave feelings, but not always direction. And that doesn't mean I didn't care. It just means love without emotional maturity can still fall short. I thought loving her was enough, but love isn't just what you feel, it's what you show, what you maintain, what you're disciplined enough to protect. And sometimes you realize you loved someone deeply, but you hadn't learned yet how to love them well. Regret hits different when you know you tried, because it's not like I didn't care. I showed up, I put in effort, I stayed longer than I had before, but effort in the wrong areas doesn't always translate. I tried to fix problems instead of understanding them. I tried to be strong instead of being vulnerable. I tried to prove I loved her instead of learning how she needed to feel it, and that's the painful part. Knowing you weren't careless, just unaware. Regret isn't always about not loving someone. Sometimes it's about realizing you could have loved them better, and by the time you understand that, it's already over. You don't always realize someone's full value while they're still there. Sometimes you notice it in their absence, in the silence where their voice used to be, in the space where their presence felt normal, in the little things no one else does quite the same. The way she checked on me without making it obvious, the way she remembered details I forgot I even shared, the way she stayed patient when I was difficult. When you're used to someone loving you, you can mistake it for something ordinary, but once it's gone, you see how intentional it was. She wasn't too much, she wasn't overthinking, she wasn't needy, she was invested. And I didn't fully understand how rare that was until I felt the difference. Missing someone doesn't automatically mean you should go back. That's the confusing part. Because loneliness can sound like love. Silence can romanticize memories. Distance can soften the hard parts. I miss her laugh, her presence, the way she cared. But I also have to remember why it ended, the miscommunication, the emotional gaps, the moments we both felt unseen. Love alone isn't always enough to rebuild something, because going back requires more than feelings. It requires change, growth, accountability, consistency you didn't have before. And if I can't honestly say, I've grown into someone who can love her better, then missing her isn't a reason to reopen the door. Sometimes you can love someone deeply and still let them go with respect. Loving her changed me, not in a dramatic way, in a quiet, permanent way. She made me more aware, more reflective, more honest with myself. I can't love casually anymore. I can't ignore emotional gaps. I can't pretend effort doesn't matter, because I've seen what real investment looks like. And once you experience that, your standards shift. You stop entertaining half effort. You stop confusing attention with intention. You stop thinking bare minimum is enough. She didn't just teach me how to love, she showed me how I need to be loved. And even though it didn't last, it wasn't meaningless. Some people aren't meant to stay forever. They're meant to upgrade you. Loving her set a new standard. And that's something I can't undo. I can't go back to surface level conversations. I can't go back to inconsistent effort. I can't go back to love that feels half present, because I've felt what depth feels like. I've felt what it's like to be understood without over-explaining, to be cared for without asking twice, to be chosen without confusion. And once you experience that, you can't pretend it doesn't matter. It ruined average for me. Not in a bitter way, in a mature way. Now I know what intentional love looks like. Now I know what emotional safety feels like. Now I know what real effort is, and I won't lower that standard just because I miss her. Loving her made me more careful, but not closed off, more intentional. I don't rush feelings anymore. I don't say I love you just because it feels right in the moment. I don't assume connection automatically means compatibility. I pay attention now to effort, to consistency, to whether we're building or just vibing. Because when you've loved someone deeply and lost them, you understand the weight of it. Love isn't casual to me anymore. It's responsibility, it's discipline. It's showing up even when it's inconvenient. And maybe that's the real proof that I loved her. She didn't make me bitter, she made me intentional. Was loving her worth it? Even though it ended? Yeah. Because not all love is meant to last forever. Some love is meant to teach you who you are, who you're not, who you're becoming. I loved her, and even though we didn't make it, that love wasn't wasted. It showed me my gaps. It exposed my immaturity. It forced me to grow. It raised my standards. It deepened my emotional awareness. It changed how I show up now, and that matters, because one day when I love someone again, I'll love clearer, stronger, more consistently, not because I forgot her, but because loving her made me better. So yeah, it hurt, it ended, but I really did love her, and that will always mean something.